RSP concludes two-day orientation for its lawmakers. Party President Lamichhane urges newly elected MPs to honour public mandate. Air Dynasty helicopter narrowly escapes fatality in Khotang. 6 injured rescued safely. One of the ancient festival of Kathmandu Valley, Ghode Jatra, observed. Nepal Army showcase equestrian and cultural displays in Tulikhel. Rape and death of 16-year-old girl sparks nationwide concern in Nepal. Incident highlights gaps in justice amid calls for legal reform. Israel reports killing of Iran's intelligence minister. Airstrikes and retaliatory attacks escalate in the US-Israel's conflict with Iran. And Morocco awarded 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title. CAF overturns final result following Senegal's controversial walk-off. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World Prime Time News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. President of Rashtriya Swatantra Party, Ravi Lamichhane, has directed newly elected members from his party to the House of Representatives to fully respect the mandate given by the people and work in favour of positive change. Speaking at the closing of an orientation program for the newly elected MPs, Lamichhane emphasized that no one has the liberty to make arbitrary public statements or treat the public's mandate as mere entertainment.
आशा र अपेक्षाका साथ नेपाली जनताले भोट खन्याएर दिएका छन् नि त्यो ठूलो जिम्मेवारीको महसुस तपाईलाई प्रत्येक दिन हुनुपर्छ साथीहरु प्रत्येक दिन हुनुपर्छ यो देश अहिले पनि बनेन भने कहिले पनि बन्दैन भनेर साथीहरुले भनेका छन् हर ठाउँमा भनेका छन् तपाई भोट माग्न जाँदाखेरि आमा बाहरुले रुँदै के भनेका छन् तपाईलाई थाहा छ बाबु यो देश बचाऊ भनेका छन् सुन्दाखेरि यो देश बचाऊ कति सामान्य कुरा हो नि कति गहन कुरो छ कति गहिरो कुरो छ कति ठूलो कुरो छ भन्नुस् त यो देश बचाऊ हामी जस्ता सामान्य मान्छेको हातमा नीलो झण्डा फरफराउँदै हातमा घण्टी बोकेर हिँडेका हाम्रा हातमा हाम्रा काँधमा देशका ज्येष्ठ नागरिकदेखि बालक बालिकाहरूले सम्मले यो देश बचाऊ भनिरहेका छन् यो जिम्मेवारी हो.
With RSP emerging as a new political force and securing a majority of seats in the House, the orientation program highlighted the importance of responsible leadership and accountability. A total of 182 MPs were elected from Rashtriya Swatantra Party to the lower house through both direct and proportional representation. Those injured in a helicopter accident in Khotang this morning have been rescued safely. According to Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, Information Officer Gyanendra Bhol, an Air Dynasty helicopter called sign 9N AFQ met the accident as it lost balance while landing in Bolbesi in Khartamcha, Kepila Sagari, Rural Municipality 2 at about 11:55 a.m. 6 people, including the pilot, sustained minor injuries in the incident. All injured were rescued and airlifted to Kathmandu by another helicopter. The annual Ghode Jatra festival, one of the oldest and iconic festivals of Kathmandu Valley, was celebrated today at Tulikhel in the heart of the capital. Observed every year on the new moon day of Chaitra Krishnausi, this festival holds deep cultural and historical significance for the local community. Based on traditions, the festival originated from the belief that a demon named Gurumappa, who resided in a tree in eastern Tulikhel, would harm children. Communities at night would perform horse parades and rituals to symbolically subdue the demon, ensuring the safety of the city's children. Today's celebration at Tulikhel by Nepal Army showcase pageantry of horse-drawn carriages, traditional means of travel, agriculture, hunting, ceremonial and sporting displays, along with performances by trained dogs. President Ramchandra Podal, Prime Minister Sushila Karki, among other high-level dignitaries, attended the ceremony. Awards were presented to the best performers in various events as well. The festival is marked by public holiday in the valley. In Lalitpur district of Kathmandu Valley, the historic single-horse Ghode Jatra was celebrated today with traditional rituals and cultural significance. The festival is rooted in legend and history dating back to the reign of Malla king Srinivas Malla, who is said to have started the celebration in Nepal Samvat 787 to drive demons and evil spirits out of the city using horses. In Lalitpur, the festival features the race of a single horse, which is specially blessed at Mangal Bazar main square before being brought to Chasal in Balkhu. The horse is offered timing rituals, traditional alcohol and prayers before participating in the event. During the celebration, the horse is paraded 3 times from Bhola Ganesh to Balkumari temple, completing a symbolic purification of the city. After the 3rd round, the horse is offered betel leaves and areca nut to conclude the festival. We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. The rape and death of 16-year-old Inisha Bika in Surkhet has drawn nationwide attention, raising concerns about sexual violence and the effectiveness of accountability systems. While arrests have been made, the incident has once again highlighted gaps in timely justice and the need to reflect on broader societal attitudes, including education, parenting and social awareness. Sabika Srestha brings a report.
The rape and death of 16-year-old Inisha Bika in Surkhet has deeply affected communities across the country, renewing focus on issues of safety and justice. She was found unconscious in a community forest and later declared dead at a provincial hospital, prompting public concern. Although 4 suspects have been arrested, the case has raised an important question: why do such incidents continue despite existing legal frameworks? Observers suggest that challenges remain in consistent enforcement, timely investigations, and efficient judicial processes. This case also brings attention to past incidents that remain unresolved or prolonged. The case of Nirmala Panta in Kanchanpur, along with those of Samjana Kami, Bhagarathi Bhatta and Rinku Kumari Shraddha, continue to be referenced in public discussions around justice and accountability. According to Nepal police data, an average of 7 to 8 rape cases are reported daily. Over the past 8 years, nearly 17,000 rape cases and more than 5,000 attempted rape cases have been recorded. However, underreporting remains a concern due to stigma, fear, and social pressures. Social attitudes, including victim blaming and informal settlements, as well as limited support systems, can discourage survivors from coming forward. There is a growing call for improvements, including fast-track legal processes, stronger implementation of existing laws, and better support for victims. At the same time, many emphasize the importance of addressing underlying social attitudes through education, parenting, and awareness, promoting respect, equality, and accountability across all sections of society.
चेतना जहिले पनि नीति भन्दा माथि हुन्छ के कमी कमजोरी हाम्रो सामाजिक हाम्रो जो चेतनामै देखिएको छ भनेपछि अब नीतिगत समाधान चाहिँ के हुन्छ त्यसको भन्दाखेरि एउटा राज्य स्तरबाट तपाईको 8 देखि 12 कक्षा पढ्ने उमेर समूहलाई जो एउटा 17-18 वर्षसम्म त छ नि एउटा नर्मल एज 12 सम्म पढ्ने भनेको तिनीहरूलाई चाहिँ अब जस्तो हेल्थमा त छ त हाम्रो बडीको स्ट्रक्चरको बारेमा छ इमोसनको बारेमा छ हैन त्यसलाई चाहिँ थप सशक्त रूपमा मोरल शिक्षा सहित समावेश गरेर प्र्याक्टिकली रूपमा अवेरनेसको ड्रामाटिक प्रोग्रामहरू गराएर त्यसलाई चाहिँ यसरी त्यो संरचना चेतनाको संरचना लिएर आउनु पर्यो कि ना कि फाँसी दे भनेर चाहिँ कानुनमा धारमा लेख्न मिल्ने अवस्था छैन.
A call for greater awareness and responsible behavior among younger generations through education and family guidance. As the country reflects on this case, it highlights the need for continued efforts through a more responsive justice system and a more aware and responsible society. With the new government formation underway, there are increasing expectations for effective implementation of laws and timely justice.
As the whole nation is demanding for the justice, real change must ensure that victims like Inisha Bika, Nirmala Panta and Samjana Bika are not forgotten. These cases are not only demanding for justice, but they are pushing for stricter laws, greater awareness and also shift in the mindset of people so such tragedies may never happen again. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Child marriage remains a prevalent and complex issue in the Tarai region of Nepal, with rates significantly higher than the national average. This practice often forces girls under 18 to drop out of school, exposing them to financial hardship, severe health risks and, in many cases, violence. To address this critical issue and raise awareness, a mass gathering of students, parents, activists and other stakeholders came together in mass gathering for a dialogue in Rohtahat district. Rochina Rai brings the report.
While national rates of child marriage in Nepal are gradually declining, the prevalence in the Tarai lowlands remains significantly higher than the national average. In the 20 districts of the Tarai, including Rohtahat, 42.2% of girls are married before the legal age. To address this pressing issue, a mass gathering of young students against child marriage was recently held in Gajura municipality in Rohtahat district. Teachers, parents, local government representatives and members of various social organizations also came together to speak out against this harmful and illegal practice. The theme of the program was Choose a Successful Career, Not Dowry. The event aimed to raise awareness about child marriage, promote higher education, and encourage young girls to prioritize their careers over traditional practices, fostering a shift toward education, empowerment, and self-reliance. The program included constructive dialogues, learning sessions and reflections on the ongoing prevalence of child marriage across many communities in Nepal. Through group discussions, drama performances and presentations, young girls powerfully highlighted the negative impacts of child marriage on education, their health and future opportunities. They showed their strong determination, choosing education and empowerment over following the harmful social culture. Participants not only discussed the challenges, but also expressed hope for change, emphasizing that child marriage remains a serious concern. Activists highlighted child marriage is a severe human rights violation that disproportionately affects girls, impacting approximately 1 in 5 girls worldwide. In order to create a lasting positive change and advancing the elimination of child marriage in Nepali society, this kind of dialogue is pivotal, experts highlighted during the mass gathering and constructive dialogue in Rohtahat district. Rosina Rai reporting for NTV World.
And moving on, a recent study by the Road Division Office, Bharatpur has identified 43 locations along the 33.25 kilometers Narangad-Moglin road section as at risk of landslides. The road, a key link between Chitwan district and Kathmandu Valley, sees over 10,000 vehicles daily and is considered a lifeline for Nepal's federal capital. Landslides during the rainy season often disrupt traffic due to debris from slope cuts made during past road expansions. Among the 43 sites, Tuin Khola, Kali Khola and Namsi Khola are considered the most vulnerable. The study categorizes 8 sites as high risk, 22 as moderate and 13 as low risk. Chief Engineer Naren Lamichhane says the office has submitted a procurement plan to the Department of Roads and mapping is complete. Tendering for mitigation work is expected to start shortly and prevention efforts planned before the monsoon season. Langtang National Park, located in the central Himalayas of Nepal, has distributed relief funds to farmers affected by human-wildlife conflict, aiming to reduce tensions between wildlife and local communities. Approximately $12,900 has been provided as compensation to farmers whose crops, livestock or property were damaged by wildlife. According to Chief Conservation Officer Shyam Kumar Shah, during the current fiscal year, 157 farmers were affected by wildlife incidents. Of these, 111 were impacted by monkeys, 34 by langurs, 11 by leopards and 1 by a bear. Leopard attacks caused significant livestock losses. The relief payments were calculated based on reports of human injuries, livestock deaths and crop damage. This initiative is part of ongoing efforts by the park authorities to mitigate human-wildlife conflict while supporting the livelihoods of affected communities in Rasua, Nuwakot and Sindhupalchok districts near Langtang National Park. International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. Israel has reported the killing of Iran's intelligence minister Ismail Khatib in an overnight strike following the death of Iran's top security official Ali Larijani yesterday. Iran has not yet commented on Khatib's death. Meanwhile, Israel launched airstrikes in Beirut, targeting areas outside southern Hezbollah strongholds, while retaliatory attacks by Iran and allied militias have been reported across the region, including Tel Aviv, Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. The U.S. military said it struck Iranian missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz using bunker-busting bombs amid fears over disruption to the vital oil shipping route. Civilians in Iran report living under constant fear as the conflict escalates. An Iranian rescue official has said more than 46,000 civilian sites have been damaged since joint strikes by the U.S. and Israel began late last month. Razieh Alisha Vandi of Iranian Red Crescent Society stated that the majority of affected locations are residential, with thousands of homes, businesses and public facilities impacted. She added that health centers, schools and emergency infrastructure were also hit, raising concerns about violations of international humanitarian law, which is meant to protect civilians during conflict. The strikes are part of a sharp escalation following attacks on Iranian cities, including Tehran, and subsequent retaliatory missile and drone launches by Iran across the region. The situation underscores growing humanitarian and regional security risks, with calls for accountability and increased international attention. Smoke billowed from the wreckage of a vehicle hit by Israeli airstrike in the center of Sidon, the city's largest urban area along the Mediterranean coast. The strike occurred near the Civil Defense headquarters and a busy seaside road where many displaced families have been sheltering amid rising cross-border tensions between Israel and armed groups in Lebanon. some civilians are reportedly sleeping in their cars due to ongoing insecurity, underscoring the growing humanitarian impact of the conflict. International media reports say the attack further illustrates the risks faced by populations in urban areas caught in escalating hostilities. The incident highlights how civilian zones are increasingly becoming targets, raising alarm among aid organizations and observers. Now, rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East are disrupting global energy, fertilizer and food supply chains, potentially pushing up food production costs, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has said. The report highlighted that granular urea, a key nitrogen fertilizer used in crop production, surged nearly 20% in early March as energy prices climbed, since fertilizer production relies heavily on natural gas. The FAO warned that global fertilizer costs could remain 15 to 20% higher in the first half of the ongoing year if the current situation persists. Rising energy prices are also driving up costs across the wider agricultural supply chain, with potential economic repercussions for developing economies dependent on remittances. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric noted that reductions in remittance from Gulf migrant workers could further strain household incomes amid rising food and energy prices. More international news lined up. Coming up is a break. Argentina has formally withdrawn from the World Health Organization, marking a significant shift in its global health policy. Foreign Minister Pablo Curno said the decision, first announced in 2025, took effect 1 year after Argentina notified the UN Secretary General in line with international treaty rules. The World Health Organization is a UN agency that coordinates global responses to health emergencies and sets international public health standards. The move was made under President Javier Milei, whose government argues it will allow greater flexibility in shaping national health policies and managing resources. Officials say Argentina will continue international health cooperation through bilateral and regional partnerships while emphasizing national sovereignty. China says it will stay in close contact with the U.S. over a planned visit by Donald Trump after the trip was delayed due to Iran conflict. The visit had originally been scheduled for late March but was postponed amid rising geopolitical tensions.
元首外交对中美关系发挥着不可替代的战略引领作用。中美双方将继续就特朗普总统访华时保持沟通。
Trump now says he expects to visit China within 5 to 6 weeks and maintains a strong relationship with President Xi Jinping. El Salvador's Congress has approved a constitutional reform allowing life imprisonment for serious crimes such as murder, rape and terrorism, part of President Nayib Bukele's aggressive crackdown on criminal gangs. The amendment comes amid a state of emergency under which tens of thousands of suspected gang members have been detained, making El Salvador one of the countries with the highest per capita incarceration rates in the world. Human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch, have raised concerns over arbitrary detentions, particularly of Salvadorans deported from the U.S., citing risks of enforced disappearances. Supporters argue the reform strengthens public security and gives law enforcement greater tools to tackle violent crime, which has long plagued urban areas like San Salvador. The country is also exploring climate resilience, including innovative insurance programs to protect tourism-dependent coastal communities from extreme weather events. Time now for sports update. NTV Martyrs Memorial Women's League kicked off today. In the opening match, Sankata Club secured a winning start by defeating Neuro team NRT 4-0. The match held at Castle Ground in Lalitpur saw Sankata dominate NRT in a one-sided match. Goals from Sankata were scored by Win Thengi Tun, Lucy Hoje Mokambi, Sukriya Mia and Kinabel Aman Kra with 2 goals in each half. The league features 9 teams including Armed Police Force, Bagmati Youth Club, Church Boys United, Chapa Football Club, Neuro Team, Nepal Police Club, RS Resort and Beach Football, Sankata Football Club and Trivan Army Football Club. NTV says the league matches will be held at Castle Ground in Lalitpur until April 25 and will follow a single round-robin format. Morocco has been declared the winner of 2025 Africa Cup of Nations after the Confederation of African Football overturned the result of the final against Senegal. Senegal initially defeated Morocco 1-0 on 18th of January, but the match was disrupted when Senegalese players walked off following a stoppage time penalty awarded to Morocco. After a brief delay, the play resumed. Brahim Diaz missed the penalty and Senegal's Pape Gaye scored in extra time. Following an appeal by the Moroccan Football Federation, CAF's appeal board ruled that Senegal had forfeited the match. The official result has been recorded as a 3-0 victory for Morocco. The Senegalese Football Federation has said it will appeal the decision at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, describing the ruling as unfair and unprecedented. CAF stated the Moroccan appeal was deemed admissible and upheld, finalizing the change in the official outcome. The Iranian women's national football team reached at Istanbul airport on Tuesday after several members withdrew their asylum requests in Australia and decided to return home. The players dressed in Iranian team tracksuits were seen at the airport and later left under police escort to a hotel in Istanbul. They are scheduled to return to Iran on Wednesday. 7 members of the delegation had sought asylum in Australia last week following criticism at home for refusing to sing the national anthem during their opening match at the Women's Asia Cup. Only 2 players remain in Australia after others reversed their decisions. Before we wrap up, here's a reminder of the headlines. RSP concludes 2-day orientation for its lawmakers. Party president urges newly elected MPs to honour public mandate. Air Dynasty helicopter narrowly escapes fatality in Khotan. 1 injured and 6 rescued. One of the ancient festivals of Kathmandu Valley, Ghode Jatra, observed. Nepal Army showcase equestrian and cultural displays and Turikil. Rape and death of 16-year-old girl sparks nationwide concern in Nepal. Incident highlights gaps in justice amid calls for legal reform. Israel reports killing of Iran's intelligence minister. Airstrikes and retaliatory attacks escalate in the US-Israel's conflict with Iran. And Morocco awarded 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title. CAF overturns final result following Senegal's controversial walk-off. And that is all for this edition of NTV World Prime Time News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I am Sarah Sapsana Marai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World. Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I am Sabika Shrestha, your host for the weekly current affairs program. Here we pick the major news of the week, unpack its significance and examine how today's decision shaped tomorrow's direction. This week's episode focuses on Nepal's post-election political transition as the Rashtriya Swatantra Party prepares to form a new government after the March 5 House of Representatives elections. We will look at the constitutional process of government formation, the debate around national party recognition and the representation requirements in the new parliament. We also explore efforts in eastern Nepal to support temporary election security personnel after the polls, and the wider impact of Middle East tensions on international flights affecting travelers from Kathmandu. Nepal is preparing for the formation of a new government led by the Rashtriya Swatantra Party after it almost secured two-thirds majority in the March 5 House of Representatives elections. For the first time since the promulgation of the Constitution of Nepal 2015, the government will be formed under Article 76(1), allowing the President to appoint the parliamentary party leader of the majority party as Prime Minister. The process is expected to take around 10 days as constitutional procedures including convening parliament and electing the speaker and deputy speaker are completed. Here's a report by Diksha Vasti.
Nepal is set to witness the formation of a new government under the leadership of the Rashtriya Swatantra Party, which secured a 2/3 majority in the recent House of Representatives elections held on March 5. For the first time since the promulgation of the Constitution of Nepal 2015, the government will be formed procedurally under Article 76, Clause 1, which allows the President to appoint the leader of the parliamentary party with a majority as Prime Minister, with the Council of Ministers formed under their chairmanship. Previously, governments were formed through coalitions as no single party had secured a majority. This time, with the Rashtriya Swatantra Party winning the majority, the process will follow a clear constitutional path. Constitutional experts have outlined the steps that must be completed. The Election Commission must submit the official election report to the President within 7 days. The President then convenes Parliament within 30 days. Senior members take the oath from the President and administer oaths to other members. And finally, the Speaker and Deputy Speaker are elected before the Prime Minister and Cabinet can be formally sworn in. Rashtriya Swatantra Party has indicated that the entire process will take at least 10 days. Legal scholars note that under Article 76, the new government will not require a vote of confidence, and a no confidence motion cannot be moved against a single party majority government for at least 2 years, ensuring stability. This follows historical precedent. After the restoration of democracy in Nepal, the Nepali Congress formed single majority governments in 1991 and 1999. With these steps underway, Nepal anticipates a stable and constitutionally grounded government, marking a significant moment in the country's democratic history.
Rashtriya Swatantra Party, that has won 182 seats in the first past the post and proportional representation system in the 275-member House, had a technical obligation to nominate 48 women in the PR system. With 125 direct seats and 57 under proportional representation, the party faces a key constitutional requirement, nominating mostly women to maintain the mandatory 33% female representation in Parliament. Here's a report. Rashtriya Swatantra Party, the agent of the sweeping mandate, will not only have the burden of steering the country ahead, but the party's women lawmakers will also have to be the flag bearer in their gender in policy making. The party has secured 125 seats under the first past the post system, in which 13 are women candidates. Under Nepal's constitution, every party must ensure at least 33% combined women representation in 2 houses of federal parliament. Interestingly, the party with almost 2/3 majority in the lower house will have no representation in the National Assembly. This means RSP will have to manage all the mandatory numbers of inclusive and proportional representation from within the House of Representatives. As per the projection, RSP will have 58 seats under the PR system, making it a collective strength of 183 in the lower house. Since only 13 of the 183 possible House of Representatives members of the party are women, the party will have to nominate women candidates in 48 of the 58 PR seats to maintain the 33% women representation criteria. In that case, RSP will have altogether 61 women lawmakers in the lower house of parliament. Moreover, the selected women candidates must meet the cluster-based distribution mandated by the law provision to ensure both gender balance and social inclusion.
There should be certainty of 33% women's representation in the federal parliament. They should respect the inclusion clusters. For example, women, 33% women, then accordingly Dalits, Janajatis, backward region, Muslim, etc. Khas area, according to their number of seats, they have to submit their candidates list. Otherwise, Election Commission makes them revise those lists again.
RSP meanwhile sees this mandatory provision and need to nominate more than 80% women under the PR system as an opportunity to balance the democracy by promoting women representation.
The constitution has demanded 33% representation of female in the parliament itself, right? But usually what happens is they are coming from the proportional seat, not from the direct election. But Rashtriya Swatantra Party had given maximum number of candidacy from the female side in direct election, right, which was 16, which is itself less in number, which is only 11%, but still out of 16 women, 13 of them have brought massive landslide victory. They are not only victorious but landslide victory. So I think this is a good realization that women leadership era has started. People have started accepting women leadership. Coming to the gender equality, 33% is itself not enough. It should be 50%. So we will be definitely advocating for that. Having said that, before that, the 33% itself needs to be implemented for us, right? Because even the 33% has not been implemented.
Within the party, even the male winners are seeing this as the fresh mandate of the people and are eager to execute it according to the constitutional provisions.
जनताले 2/3 झन्डै मत दिए। यसको अर्थ के हो भने जनताको ठूलो विश्वास छ, ठूलो भरोसा छ र यो परिवर्तनले मुलुकको जीवन र नागरिकको जीवनमा ठूलो परिवर्तन ल्याउँछ भन्ने उनीहरूले विश्वास गरेका छन्। एउटा चाहिँ स्थायी किसिमको सरकार नभएसम्म मुलुकमा विकास नहुँदो रहेछ, मुलुकको विकास र समितिको यात्रा अगाडि नबढ्दो रहेछ भन्ने हिजोको अनुभवले आज यसपटक जनताले तिमीहरूलाई हामी स्थायी सरकार दिन्छौँ, स्थायी नेतृत्व दिन्छौँ, काम गर भनेर हामीलाई म्यान्डेट दिइसक्यो हैन। अब यो म्यान्डेट पाइसकेपछि जनताको अपेक्षा अनुरूप हामीले सुशासन कायम गर्ने कुरामा र भ्रष्टाचार नियन्त्रण गर्ने र हिजोका दिनमा भएका भ्रष्टाचारहरूको खोजबिन गर्ने कुरामा हामीले सक्रियताका साथ काम गर्नुपर्छ। यदि त्यो क्षेत्रमा हामीले काम गर्न सकेनौँ भने फेरि जनताले हामीलाई अविश्वास गर्नेछन्।
The Election Commission is expected to submit the final report of the March 5 election to President Ramchandra Paudel within a week as the counting of votes has concluded. Public expectations are that the robust presence of women in the lower house of the parliament will not only to fulfill the constitutional provisions but also to make the representation inclusive and proportional in real terms.
Nepal's newly elected parliament is set to convene soon, no later than 30 days right after the Election Commission submitted the final results of the March 5 House of Representatives election to the president. Once summoned, lawmakers will take the oath of office and elect a speaker and deputy speaker within 15 days to oversee parliamentary proceedings. With the Rashtriya Swatantra Party having a single-party majority, the president will appoint its parliamentary leader as prime minister, who must then secure a vote of confidence in the House within 30 days to formally establish the new government. The first session of the House of Representatives will mark both the start of the new legislative term and the beginning of government formation, likely before the Nepali New Year 2083. Smitu Gising Tamang explores more on this.
Nepal's newly elected parliament is expected to convene latest by the 30th day of the final results of the March 5 House of Representatives election. The final result announcement day will be counted from the time the Election Commission submits its report to the President. According to the Federal Parliament Secretariat of Nepal, as per constitutional provision, the President must summon the first meeting of the new House of Representatives within 30 days after he receives the report.
पहिला त निर्वाचनको अन्तिम मत परिणाम सार्वजनिक भएको मितिले 30 दिनभित्र सभाको बैठक बस्नुपर्छ भन्ने संवैधानिक व्यवस्था छ। अन्तिम मत सार्वजनिक भए पछाडिको 30 दिनभित्र बस्ने गरेर नै सबै कुराको व्यवस्थापन हुन्छ।
Nepal follows a parliamentary system where the government is formed based on majority support in the lower house of bicameral parliament. The process begins once the President of Nepal formally summons the first session of the House of Representatives of Nepal. During that first meeting, newly elected lawmakers are sworn into office. The House then begins its internal processes, including the election of a speaker and deputy speaker within 15 days, who will preside preside over parliamentary proceedings. At the same time, as per Article 76(1) of the Constitution, President appoints the parliamentary party leader of the party with majority to the post of Prime Minister and Council of Ministers under his or her chairpersonship. With the likely equation of the House of Representatives tilting towards single-party majority, there would be no need for any coalition this time around. As per constitutional provision, the newly appointed Prime Minister must then seek a vote of confidence in the lower house within 30 days, formally establishing the new government. The upcoming parliamentary session will therefore mark the beginning of both the new legislative term and the process of forming Nepal's next government. As the process demands around 30 days for the appointment of new Prime Minister in Nepal, all eyes are when will the President receive the report and summon the first meeting. The 30-day deadline is the maximum. Nepali people most likely are set to see the new Prime Minister before the Nepali New Year 2083.
Following the House of Representatives election held on March 5, 6 political parties have qualified as national parties in Nepal. The recognition of national party status has now become a major topic of discussion. Aprila Gising Lama looks into what legal and practical differences it makes for a party to be recognized or not recognized as a national party in Nepal's political system.
Under Nepal's mixed electoral system, a political party is recognized as a national party only if it meets two conditions. It must win at least one seat in the direct first-past-the-post election and secure at least 3% of the total votes under the proportional representation system. This means a party can win several direct seats but still fail to gain national status if it does not cross the 3% proportional vote threshold. Likewise, a party that receives more than 3% of proportional votes but fails to win at least one direct seat cannot be recognized as a national party. In the 2022 general election, CPN Unified Socialist won 10 direct seats but failed to cross the 3% proportional threshold and therefore did not qualify as a national party. In contrast, in the latest election, the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party crossed the 3% proportional vote threshold despite winning only one direct seat, allowing it to obtain national party status. National party recognition does not affect the salaries or benefits of members of parliament. However, parliamentary rules require a party to have at least 10 lawmakers in the House of Representatives to appoint an official chief whip and whip. Although some parties may gain national recognition, those with fewer than 10 MPs cannot formally appoint these positions, and such appointments are not officially recognized by the Federal Parliament Secretariat. Representatives of nationally recognized parties are generally invited to key parliamentary consultations, including meetings of the Parliamentary Business Advisory Committee and most all-party meetings called by the President or the Prime Minister. According to parliamentary rules, political parties with 2 or more elected MPs are eligible for a parliamentary party office. Parties with only one seat, as well as independent lawmakers, are not entitled to these facilities.
More than 340,000 temporary security personnel were deployed nationwide to hold the March 5 House of Representatives elections in Nepal. After completing 40 days of service, the personnel were formally bid farewell. However, in Dhankuta in eastern Nepal, authorities are planning long-term support for these election police personnel. Rosina Rai reports with local correspondent Ishwar Thapa from Dhankuta.
Temporary security personnel hired for the House of Representatives elections on March 5th have completed their 40-day service. They were formally bid farewell through various functions across the country. However, in eastern Nepal's Dhankuta, a different scene unfolded as the local government prepared to provide specialized training in various categories to link them to employment and entrepreneurial opportunities. skill-based training programs tailored to participants' interest and conducted in collaboration with different agencies have been initiated. The training aims to guide former election security personnel toward self-employment and income-generating opportunities. Out of 149,090 security personnel deployed nationwide, 1,085 served in Thankuta. Many were uncertain about their next steps after completing the 40-day assignment and feared returning to unemployment and daily livelihood struggles. The orientation programs held during the farewell, however, have given them hope and confidence, showing that they can pursue opportunities by enrolling in these specialized trainings under local government. Experts and officials from several institutions under provincial and local government, including the CTVT Agriculture Knowledge Center, National Commercial Agriculture Research Center, Division Forest Office, and the Cottage and Small Industries Office, shared information about opportunities in their respective sectors. In coordination with banks and financial institutions, participants were also informed about the concessional loans for their startups. This initiative aims to transform short-term employment into long-term entrepreneurship and sustainable livelihoods.
Away from the election and politics, another major issue of the week was the impact of Middle East war in aviation. Escalating tensions in the Middle East severely disrupted international flights through one of the key transit hubs in the world. This left many travelers struggling to reach their destinations, including those from Trivandrum International Airport in Kathmandu. Though the flights have resumed partially, there is no guarantee that the major airports like Dubai and Doha are safe and secure. Here's a report.
समस्या त अब फ्लाइट क्यान्सल भएको छ सबैजना अब रिस्केजुलको लागि कोही रिफन्डको लागि आउनु भएको छ अब सकेसम्म चाँडो भन्दा चाँडो मान्छेहरूलाई चाहिँ रिस्केजुल गरेर आफ्नो डेस्टिनेसन पुर्याइदिए सहज हुन्थ्यो भन्ने लाग्छ अब रिस्केजुलको लागि अनलाइन नहुने रहेछ फेरि मान्छेहरू यहाँ आउनु पर्यो लाइन बस्नु पर्यो दिनभरि लाग्ने रहेछ के यो त यो चाहिँ अनलाइन गर्दिए चाहिँ अझ अलि सहज हुन्थ्यो कि मान्छेहरूलाई
This is a regular routine for many Nepali migrant workers who are knocking the doors of their flight operators to reschedule their ticket. Disruption of flights in some of the major labor destinations of Nepali migrant workers has troubled thousands who had come home on vacation. They are more worried about reaching their destination rather than personal safety, despite the conflict in the Middle East escalating by the day. Since the workers travel on a tight schedule and fear losing their job contract, if they don't reach within 60 days, they are hit the panic button.
उहाँहरुको समस्या के एउटा चाहिँ त्यो मोस्ट अफ द पिपल चाहिँ अहिले उहाँहरु के भने छुट्टीमा आउनु भएको छ 1 महिना या 2 महिना धेरै कम्पनीहरुले जम्मा 2 महिना 60 दिनको बिदा दिया हुन्छ र 60 दिन भित्र त्यहाँ फर्किएन भने त्यो भिजाको चाहिँ भिजा भ्यालिड भयो भने पनि 2 महिना भित्र 60 दिन भित्र रिटर्न भएन भने त्यो अटो भिजा चाहिँ एक्सपायर हुन्छ र अटो एक्सपायर हुनु भनेको पछाडीको रोजगारी पनि गुम्नु हो नि यहाँबाट नेपालबाट बेसिकली मिडल इस्ट र युरोप अनि अमेरिकन डेस्टिनेसनहरुमा जाने चाहिँ मोस्ट अफ द प्यासेन्जर अथवा हामीलाई फ्लाइट भनेको अलि सस्तो पनि यही मिडल इस्ट क्यारियर नै थियो यिनहरु नै बन्द हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब नेपालीहरुको त मोमेन्ट नै बन्द भयो.
The disruption, which began on March 12, has impacted flights through major transit hubs such as Doha, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, and Jordan, also affecting passengers transiting in those destinations. As a result, hundreds of passengers have been left stranded or forced to delay their travel, creating congestion at airline counters at Trivandrum International Airport and their head offices. Airlines operating from Nepal and the Middle East have reduced or cancelled a number of flights as the regional airspace remains partially restricted. Aviation officials say more than 75 flights have been cancelled over the past 2 weeks, leaving more than 12,000 passengers affected. Meanwhile, officials at Trivandrum International Airport say airlines are gradually adjusting operations to minimize disruptions. Spokesperson for Trivandrum International Airport said rescue flights are being arranged and airlines are also modifying routes to continue services.
अहिले फुल शेड्युलमा पनि फ्लाइटहरु सञ्चालन त गरेको छैन जस्तो 4 वटा फ्लाइट छ भने 3 वटा गरिएको छ 2 टा फ्लाइटहरु गरेको छ भने एउटा अब जति आएको छ अहिले चाहिँ धेरै स्ट्यान्डर्ड प्यासेन्जरहरुलाई गरिरहेको छ एयरलाइन्सहरुसँग पनि हामी क्लोज कोअर्डिनेसनमा छौं र उनीहरुले पनि अब नोटिस निकालिरहेको छ यो फ्लाइट हुन्छ यो हुँदैन र अब उनीहरुलाई पनि त्यो कुन दिनमा कसको फ्लाइटहरु हुन्छ भन्ने कुराहरु नि उनीहरुले पब्लिक नोटिस नि जारी गरेकोले उनीहरुलाई सबै प्यासेन्जरहरुलाई चाहिँ एकदम हेल्प गरिरहनु भएको छ अहिले.
As of Thursday evening, only 3 rescue flights, one each from Nepal Airlines, Himalaya Airlines and Air Arabia, have landed at Tribhuvan International Airport, ferrying stranded passengers at Dubai Airport. According to the TIA, 2 flights, one of Fly Dubai and another of Air Arabia, have been scheduled to depart to Dubai on Thursday. Authorities say they are closely monitoring developments in the Middle East and coordinating with airlines to ensure passengers are assisted as the airspace over major labor destination of Nepali migrant workers struggles to operate.
That's the perspective for this week. We will be back next week with major highlights of the week. Thank you for watching NTV World.
Music, dance, food, art and devotion are the lifeblood of Newar culture, an ancient civilization rooted in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal. With lively festivals nearly every fortnight, the Newars celebrate life through a rich tapestry of traditions known as Jatra.
Welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief. I am Devendra Subedi. What is the importance of scientific research and academics in our day-to-day life? Do the breakthroughs and findings made by great scientists and researchers matter in everyday life of a common person like us? In this episode, we try to declassify the value of academics in life, history-making finding of a Nobel laureate, major challenges the world is facing, the cosmos, the universe, and much more. It is our honor and privilege to welcome Nobel laureate Professor Dr. Takaaki Kazuta in the studios of Nepal Television and NTV World. Professor Kazuta, welcome to NTV World.
Thank you.
You were the chief guest of the 51st convocation of one of the largest universities of the world, Trivandrum University. Now, how much do countries like Nepal contribute in the global ecosystem of physics, Professor?
Well, as far as I think, physics is truly a global effort. Therefore, I think Nepal is one of the important contributors to the development of physics.
So Nepal can play or has played, Professor, so far?
Well, I hope Nepal can play more significant role in the future.
Now, going back to the universities, Professor, how did the Japanese universities where you studied shaped your scientific journey up to the Nobel Prize and the research that you conducted?
Thank you for this question. When I was young, I think the Japanese national universities have a kind of academic freedom. I can spend all my time for the research. I think that kind of environment was very important to really produce important scientific results.
But in our part, we often talk about practical education. It should be more day-to-day use. This should come into... But that is the importance of research, isn't it, Professor? We should concentrate. And what about the investment in research?
Well, I think both fundamental research and research that can contribute to tomorrow's life are both important. So we have to support both sides.
If Nepal have to strengthen its higher education system, let's say, what lessons can it learn from Japan at this present time?
In the last 20 or so years, Japanese government tried to reduce the support to the Japanese national universities. Then the effect was clear. The number of papers or number of highly cited papers rapidly decreased. So I think the support from the government, support from all the people in the country is very important for the development of science.
Now we move on to one of the things that you mentioned in your Convocation Day speech, Professor Kazuta. You mentioned about some of the major issues the world is facing right now. Can you elaborate something more onto your speech?
Well, I think I had several points. First of all, I mentioned AI, and AI is a kind of new technology, and it seems AI is really going to be really important for our future, and therefore we have to think about the way how to use AI properly. Of course, there are other issues such as climate change. This is again a global issue. Therefore, we all have to work hard to stop the global warming.
How about the geopolitical tensions surrounding this world, Professor Kazuta?
Well, I don't want to go into too details about this issue, but well, compared with, say, 20 years ago, well, I am really feeling that the our world is changing. I really like to have our world 20 years ago.
That was much better.
Much better, yes.
Will the global dynamics, Professor Kazita, always be dictated by the countries who have a lot of spending in scientific research or the ones that have robust economy? Who do you think will dictate the global dynamics?
Certainly, nowadays, some countries try to control everything, but well, I think every country, every people are player in the world.
So it should be a collaborative world.
Yes.
If you said you can't comment much on that one, now I come to your topic, physics, Professor Kazita. Will the nuclear threat or the race that we see in this world after the evolution of technologies like nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, will that ever end, or are we going to ever see an end to this one?
Difficult question. Well, certainly, as far as the energy is concerned, if we have enough renewable energy resources, I hope we can forget about the nuclear powers and so on. But for the moment, we are not yet that position. So therefore, we still have, in my opinion, we still have to think seriously what will be the best way for the future.
There are always pros and cons of every discovery or whenever there's a new evolution. Should the ones that are a threat to humanity or the environment be, let's say, eliminated right from the initial phase, or they should carry on? Let's take the example of cloning. Like, let's say now we have even reached up to human cloning. There's still a debate in that one. So such type of researches and experiments, should those things be promoted or should not be done at all?
Well, I'm certainly in a little bit conservative side. Well, nowadays, well, the things that science can do have expanded so much. Therefore, when we think about any application, we have to be very serious, and we need to have a significant discussion, and we need to have a consensus among the society.
So does that involve the scientific community only or the common people as well?
I think we should involve the common people.
Now we move on to your specific research area, Professor Kazita, that won you a Nobel Prize in 2015, physics, the cosmic rays and the neutrino oscillation. What is neutrino physics and how is it different from the particle physics?
Neutrino physics is part of particle physics, but, well, we think now neutrino physics is important because about 25 years ago, people discovered neutrino oscillations that implies neutrinos have small mass. And small mass of neutrinos might be the window to study physics beyond the standard model of particle physics. Therefore, well, we are excited.
Let's say this is something, a standard ball pen. How small and deep is your research when you study the neutrino oscillation? How small is the particle? To what depth do you reach?
Well, in the standard scenario, neutrinos do not have the size. Therefore, I cannot say how small.
Exactly how small they are. But they are not visible to our eyes, are they?
No, it's not possible even for particle physics experiment, we cannot see neutrinos.
So, in its simple terms, Professor Kazita, neutrino oscillation, what is it and why it matters to common people like us?
Oh, okay. Well, neutrino oscillations are phenomena that neutrinos, while traveling in the vacuum or even in the matter, they change their type.
Yeah.
That is the neutrino oscillations, and this happens if neutrinos have small mass. Of course, even if neutrinos have small mass, it doesn't matter to our daily life.
It doesn't matter, but it does shape the future of humanity, isn't it?
Well, as a humanity, we would like to understand the secrets of the universe,
Yeah.
and therefore we may contribute to expanding our knowledge.
How challenging was it, Professor Kazita, to prove the neutrino oscillation theory experimentally?
Well, okay. When we discovered neutrino oscillations in 1998, well, people were not sure if really neutrinos oscillate. Therefore, we thought it's very important to convince neutrino physicists with a very clear data.
So with the experiment, you provided that data to your team and that did the research?
Yes, our team provided the clean data, yes.
I heard you say, Professor Kazita, my failed research, unsuccessful research, gave me a PhD. And the one that was successful earned you a Nobel Prize. You said somewhere this statement of yours. Can you explain on that one?
Yes, okay, thank you. Well, when I was a PhD student, I wanted to observe proton decays. I was unable to observe, but fortunately I got PhD.
For that particular research?
Yes. And well, even after PhD, I continued search for proton decays. Then, in some day, I noticed that the background events to the search for proton decays are not understood. That was neutrino interactions. Then I changed to this topic.
What does your discovery mean for humanity's or our, let's say, understanding of the matter and the cosmos?
Well, certainly, if we understand, for example, why neutrino mass is so small, it will certainly give us a better understanding of the fundamental theory of the particles, and these particle theories could help understand the universe better.
Is there any practical application of that in our day-to-day life?
No, I don't expect so.
Professor Kazita, you have spoken of super and hyper Kamiokande. You have already worked on that, going underneath the earth and then doing the experiment. Can you explain in simple terms to our viewers what exactly was that Kamiokande? Or you were even talking about the hyper Kamiokande now, which you want to work on.
Okay, thank you. Well, let me talk about the super Kamiokande experiment. It is a very large detector located in deep underground. It is located about 1,000 meters deep underground, and the size is about 40 meters in diameter and 40 meters high, and it contains 50,000 tons of extremely clean water. And you may ask, why you need 50,000 tons of water? Well, the problem is neutrinos essentially pass through everything, but very rarely they interact with matter. Therefore, in order to observe neutrino events, we need large volume. Therefore, we use 50,000 tons of water.
You went underneath, almost 1 kilometers underneath the surface of Earth in that reactor, and then how long did it take to come up with the finding?
Well, in fact, Super Kamiokande was large enough. Therefore, in order to discover neutrino oscillations, it took only 2 years.
How large will be the Hyper Kamiokande you are talking about?
Hyper Kamiokande will be about 8 times larger in volume than Super Kamiokande.
When are you expecting, are you already into that mission, or are you expecting to do it pretty soon?
I think the experiment will start in 2028, so less than 3 years.
So you said there are a lot of collaboration in that one, 22 countries coming together for the Kamiokande. How about this Hyper Kamiokande?
22 or 3 countries in collaboration is the Hyper Kamiokande experiment. Even in Super Kamiokande, we have collaborators from 11 countries.
11 countries then. So you are doubling the number, and it's 8 times larger experiment. I would like to wish you all the best for your Hyper Kamiokande right here, right now, Professor Kajita, and hopefully the findings will land you another Nobel Prize, maybe.
Thank you, but I'm not deeply involved in Hyper Kamiokande.
All right, but you are the one who started this with the Super one, and then hopefully that will be carried forward by the new generation of researchers.
Yes, I hope so.
How important is sustained investment in basic research or scientific breakthroughs in developing countries like Nepal, Professor?
Well, it's an important point. Well, from our experience, I can say the sustained support by the government is really important to carry out basic research. Well, it's not easy to produce important results in basic science, but, well, in our case, government was very supportive, and we were able to produce important results over the past 30 years.
Any suggestion you have for developing countries like Nepal, where, as earlier I mentioned, we only talk about practical education, more day-to-day life applications, and why they should also spend in research and all this sort of stuff? Any suggestion you have, Professor?
Well, first of all, in order to develop science, academic freedom is important. So researchers can select whatever they would like to do. So that kind of freedom is very important. And sometimes their research cannot contribute to tomorrow's life. But if we think about the long history of humanity, the basic science, in some cases, contributes significantly to humanities. Therefore, the support to basic science is very important, even in Nepal.
Do you think Nobel-level discoveries or research or findings are possible from countries like Nepal or any other developing countries as well?
I think so. But, well, supporting basic science is really the key to get the fundamental research result.
You spoke about perseverance in your speech in the convocation day. How important is perseverance and patience?
Well, it's absolutely essential to be able to continue the research for a long time.
For example, once you did your research and you couldn't find the proton decaying thing and you earned your PhD, had you left it there, you would not have reached up to the findings that you have made there. But today, nowadays, youths or even people are very much result-oriented. They want immediate result. They want immediate success. What message you have for them?
I think it's important that researchers find important questions, and it may take long time to answer to these important questions. But if you think this question is important, you should persuade.
So keep working on, think about the long-term impact, do investment from the government side, and the young researchers do not look for immediate success.
That's right. And, well, I think nowadays young researchers have a very high pressure in order to get the next job. Therefore, it's very important that government support young researchers' position, permanent position.
How important is physics, Professor Kazita, to human existence itself, to humanity? Physics.
Well, it's a difficult question. Well, as humanity, we would like to understand the universe better, and we physicists can contribute to our better understanding of the universe. Maybe that's all we can do.
As I earlier asked, in that practical thing you said, our better understanding of our universe. We should understand our universe better. And maybe the researchers in future can take your learning and apply there. How should humanity balance this curiosity-driven science with immediate societal needs?
I think this is a very important question. And, well, certainly, as a physicist working on fundamental things, I really hope stronger support for fundamental research, but the balance between the fundamental research and the improvement of the tomorrow's life is always an issue. And I think we have to discuss as a community what will be the best way for the moment.
Information technology is evolving.
Yeah.
You spoke about AI earlier as well. Do you see it as a challenge, or will it complement human efficiency in the long term?
I think we have to, well, first of all, it is not possible to avoid the use of AI anymore. Then the question is, shall we simply use them without thinking anything?
Yeah.
That is the question. And I think, well, certainly we should use AI, but at the same time, we should not forget the importance of our thinking.
So it's not just the machines. We cannot avoid the use of technology and get the benefit out of it, but don't leave it alone, right?
Right.
Okay. Finally, we are reaching almost at the end of this conversation, Professor Kazita. What message would you like to share with young scientists in developing countries like Nepal?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for this question. Well, as I said, physics or science is a global effort. And if young people are interested in science, interested in understanding the nature, please do not hesitate to do research, to become scientists. Please do not hesitate to become scientists.
Final question, Professor Kazita. Say something about Nepal. This is your third time in Nepal. How do you like this country?
Oh, I like Nepal very much. Whenever I come to Nepal, I'm really excited. If I visit the old temple, I'm really inspired, and I find some similarities between Japanese culture and Nepal culture. So I'm always excited to come here.
Thank you so much, Professor, for your time, your precious time. We were really, really honored to have you in our studios of NTV World. Looking forward to your Hyper-Kamiokande experiment, which will be a carry forward from what you have left. Thank you so much, Professor Kazita, for your time, for your thoughts. We are really honored to have you in the studios of NTV World. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was indeed an honor for the entire team of NTV World to have world-renowned researcher, physician, the Nobel laureate 2015, Professor Takaaki Kazita. In this episode of Declassified, we tried to explore the cosmos, the universe, the findings of Japanese Nobel Prize-winning physics professor Takaaki Kazita. I know for many of us, the findings of the research that Professor Takaaki Kazita made may not come to our day-to-day life, but the lesson from Professor is, to the scientists, to the researchers, do not hesitate to do research. Do not look for immediate fruits. And for the government, please do make sizable investment in research so that the future of humanity can be shaped in a better way and the world can be a better place for all. Thank you so much for your presence in this episode of Declassified. Until next time, from the entire crew, it's me, Devendra Subedi, saying bye-bye. Undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Feva Lake. Boating in Feva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Feva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchre on the lake and fishing spice up the Feva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Feva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Feva Lake exits towards Seti River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra Cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere Cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish or Begnas lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous White Monastery on top of the hill above Feva Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's-eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Feva Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing. The Bindabasini temple in Pokhara is a famous shrine in Nepal. The best route to visit the temple is on the way to Sarankot. Devotees throng the Bindabasini temple, which is atop a small hill with panoramic view of Pokhara city. The Bindabasini temple is famous among the Hindus across the country. Sarankot is a hill station on top of a hill on the northwestern side of Pokhara. A must-go place to see the majestic Mount Machapuchre and Mount Dhaulagiri in the Annapurna range in front of the eyes, and also the Pokhara and Leknath cities on the other side. Sarankot is synonymous to paragliding in Nepal. Taking off from the Sarankot hill, one can enjoy the panoramic mountain range in addition to the bird's eye view of Pokhara city. Ultralight and zip flyer offer a thrill to adventure seekers in Pokhara and are becoming major interests for tourists. Other places including Swarak in Sangja have the potential to be world's best place for paragliding. First time in Nepal, paragliding accuracy World Cup was held at this place, situated at Mahapur of Virkot municipality of the district. The place drew global attention after the event. Pokhara, famous tourism destination of the country. Majority of locals engaged in tourism industry. The city of lakes and caves, hub of aviation sports. Some major destinations: Lakeside, Feva Lake and Tal Barahi Temple, Begnas and Rupa Lakes, Mahendra Gufa. Minutes flight across 214 kilometers, we landed at the Simikot airport. It was a great relief to land in Simikot for us, who had spent few days in hot Nepalganj. The cool breeze welcomed us to our great expectations. According to locals, Simikot got its name with the combination of Simi and Kot. Indeed, It is the combination of sim, meaning wetland, and kot, meaning green meadow. Simikot is a major point for pilgrims traveling to Mount Kailas and Mansarovar in Tibet via Hilsa. This is the easiest way to the Mansarovar, and thus many Indian pilgrims are seen here.
मेन त यो हुम्ला सिमीकोट चाहिँ तपाईको अब भनौं न अब कैलाश मानसरोवरकै गेटवे भएकोले एउटा यहाँ आउने भयो। अब हामीले पनि अब भनौं न तपाईको हुम्ला सिमीकोट चाहिँ अब तपाईको यो सदरमुकाम मेन ल्यान्डिङ पोइन्ट हो हैन। अब यहाँबाट तपाईको पर्यटकहरुलाई जस्तै हाम्रो यहाँ रलिङ गुम्बाहरु छ, खारबुनाथ मन्दिरहरु छ हैन। अब जस्तै यहाँ तपाईको एकदम के भन्छ प्राकृतिक सुन्दरताहरु हेर्ने ठाउँहरु थुप्रै छ। किनभने हामीले त्यो ठाउँहरुलाई चाहिँ फोकस गर्न नसकेर बाहिर ल्याउन नसकेर मात्र हो। अब ल्याउन सक्यो भने पर्यटनहरु आवश्यक नै बढी मात्रामा बढ्छ भन्ने आशा छ।
We arrived Simikot with a throng of travelers to Humla, comprising some domestic and foreign tourists. Soon our team became a cozy group of travelers. We traveled together to Limi of Namkha, among the 7 rural municipalities of the district: Simikot, Namkha, Kharpunath, Chankheli, Sarkegard, Adnacholi and Tanjakot. The jeep ride in the gravelled road is some kind of experience in this majestic terrain. However, we were disturbed by the landslides at various places of the rural road and left to travel on foot. We arrived at Chaudan Foya after a few hours of walk, but our overnight stay was still a few hours trek to Dharapuri. We stopped at many places on our way just to capture the natural beauty of the place and feel the magic in the air. These hills and the spontaneous Karnali river kept inspiring us. And on the way we see many stories of hope, determination and struggle of the locals. It was almost dusk, but our destination was still at some distance. So we increased our pace along with the local children accompanying us. We are thankful to these kids, without whom we would not have been able to know some of the very well-known places on the way. Almost 8:30 in the evening, we were still struggling to find the house where we were supposed to spend the night. Now our team was no more intact, as all had their own arrangements in small groups. We had no option but to find a place to rest for the night. We were overwhelmed by the humility and warmth of the local people. They offered a bunch of unknown travelers food and accommodation with open heart. This reminded us of the slogan, "Guest is God," in real terms. Not the most affluent of the societies, but very welcoming at heart. In need, but have the humility. Poverty-ridden, but full of humanity. We salute the rural folks who mess around the year in this inhospitable terrain for survival. The next morning we all get together. Our next destination was Kermi. The whistling sound of Karnali flowing down somewhere, the rocky hills and the small trails like ropes attached in these hills. Risky and dangerous. Not the best of conditions for trekking, but that's where the thrill is. That's where the adventure is. The waterfalls and ponds on the way relieve us from our fatigue instantly. Chachara is one of the biggest waterfalls in this place. The soothing touch of the crystal clear water of the fall is refreshing. Our lunch was at Dade Kermi, where small tents were set up by the locals to serve food and some rest for travelers. The Chinese stoves used here are smokeless and must have eased the life of the rural folks to a larger extent. We had seen these types of stoves in Dharapuri as well. Before starting another long day of trek after lunch, we had a little rest here. Our journey to Limi is still a long way to finish. We also did not get any chance of hitchhiking as no vehicle was plying on the road due to landslide obstructions. Our journey was getting arduous by the hour, but we did not miss the chance to enjoy the natural wonder of the region. Agriculture and cattle are the main profession of the people here. People raise yaks in this rugged terrain, though they have to migrate in winter to find better grazing land locally called kharka for their prized possessions. We found herds of yaks at different places on the way. We even stopped at one of these grazing camps for a cup of tea. This place is called Lashin. The tea served here is special with ghee and salt added for extra energy in the cold temperature. No wonder some of us were enjoying this tea for the first time. To our great relief, we got the news that a goods-laden truck was heading towards Limi from Tibet of China. However, we still had some distance to cover to catch the truck. We all wanted to rush with the hope to reach there in time to get a lift. At the moment, we are at Chanso, where there is not enough place for our jumbo team to spend the night. Finally, we decided to spend the night in Chanso itself, as the way ahead was more difficult and riskier. Two families had set up their yak camps here and living in 2 tents. Our big team had to divide and accommodate in these 2 tents for the night. We squeezed in for the night anyhow. It's a beautiful morning with bright blue sky, surrounded by tall hills, waterfalls and the whistling Karnali. It was nothing less than a piece of heaven on earth. We mingled with the locals for some times.
गाह्रै छ पानी पनि यहाँ समस्या छ दाउरा पनि समस्या छ यहाँ गाह्रै छ गाह्रो त यस पुल पनि समस्या छ यहाँ नराम्रो ठाउँमा बसेको छ यहाँ चिसो ठाउँमा यस्तो समस्या छ
यहाँ हामीसँग धेरै चुनौतीहरू पनि छ जस्तै एक्सेसको कुरा गर्ने हो भने रोड राम्रो बनिसकेको छैन अनि त्यसपछि तपाईँ सञ्चारहरू छैन बाटोमा टी सपहरू छैन त्यसपछि त्यही अनुसार जस्तै टुरिज्म व्यवसायको लागि चाहिएको तपाईको के भन्छ यो के रे ह्युमन रिसोर्सहरू पनि राम्रोसँग दक्ष छैन हैन
We had to climb up to the altitude of 4,800 meters to reach Limi. We decided to travel on horses as we were too tired to walk now. We managed horses for our team and set out on our way. We stopped at a beautiful natural pond, locally known as Selima. No one has dared to measure the depth of this pond till date. No one is aware of the mathematics of this ancient natural lake. We also moved ahead with the enthusiasm as to why. No one knows it. 2 hours on the horseback, we arrive at Nyalul Langna at an altitude of 4,800 meters above sea level. Surrounded by white mountains and hills, we found 2 Chinese trucks ready to leave for Limi. It took some effort to climb onto these huge carriers. Around 100 people had boarded on each truck. The local people were also waiting for the truck to depart like we were. The gravelled road and overloaded trucks. The ride was not very comfortable, but we did not have much option either to move ahead. After around 5 hours rough ride, we arrived at Halji village of Limi. Three villages, Tili, Halji and Jang, were collectively called Limi. It was almost evening by the time we reached Halji. The sight of Karnali snaking between the hills, symmetrical houses, green meadows, and the hearty welcome of the locals relieved of our fatigue. Cattle, farming and trade were the main profession of the Denizens of Halji. Yak, growing uwa, a special grain used in making liquor, and traveling to and from Taklakut via Hilsa for trade is part of their life for the locals. Despite the beauty of this magical land, it's far away from tourism. Hardly 50 tourists from outside set their foot on this area every year. The millennium-old Halji monastery, built by Locha Warinche Samo, is the pride of this place. Monk Samo had built this monastery as the last of his 108 structures around the world. Monk Samo is believed to have died while constructing this monastery. The ancient heritage, at the risk of landslide, awaits preservation and promotion.
दायाँको त्यहाँ पहिरोको डर छ यहाँ हैन त्यहाँ बायाँको त्यही डोरीको दुख छ प्रत्येक ढुङ्गाको धेरै दुख छ बिचमा खानु पाउनको पेटको दुख छ यहाँ धेरै आवश्यक छ के छ यहाँ गुम्बा विधानमा त्यही सबै ती पुरानो लिङ्ग मूर्ति गुटी माटोमा लिगेर ती बिग्री जान्छ
We had the opportunity to see the local culture and lifestyle during our trek in Limi. What impressed us the most was the dress, including local bakhu, sonba, chino and quinoa bread. Mount Kailas and the Mansarovar in China are clearly visible from Lapcha of Limi. 7 to 8 hours of truck ride from Halji, we can reach there. We were very much eager to see the Mansarovar and Mount Kailas, so we went to Limi. But to our bad luck, the weather did not help us. We waited for some time for the weather to clear, but there was no sign whatsoever, and we returned disappointed. Had the weather been kind, this was the sight we would have been able to see. Our journey to Limi thus ended on a sad note. We head back to Simikot and Nepalganj and finally to Kathmandu. Back in Kathmandu, every scene and sight we saw on the way is coming back in flashback. Being in this place itself is a treat to the eyes and mind. You forget all the fatigue and physical pain once you reach in this oasis. Undoubtedly, Humla, bordering Mugu, Bajura, Bazan and China towards the north, is a piece of heaven on earth. Votekosi and Trisuli river rafting. Rafting has lately been gaining popularity among tourists. The adventure sport, which previously was popular only among foreigners, is now drawing the local tourists as well. Trisuli and Votekosi rivers that are close to Kathmandu are two popular destinations for rafting in Bagmati province. Let us first explore Votekosi. Whitewater rafting at Votekosi river is included among the 10 best adventure destinations for rafting in the world. Votekosi, which is well facilitated with food and accommodation, can be a great destination for rafting and other adventure sports. Rafting at Trisuli River is popular among domestic tourists, as the location can be reached in an hour from Kathmandu. This is where most tourists go for rafting in Nepal. Rafting packages of Votekosi and Trisuli are appropriate for those who want to spend some good time for a few days.
At least 4 explosions were reported on Wednesday in Erbil, the autonomous Kurdish city in northern Iraq, journalists from an international media said. Projectiles were seen intercepted over the city, which hosts a major U.S. consulate and an airport used by U.S.-led coalition forces. Iraq has become a focal point in the Middle East conflict, with strikes targeting Iran-backed groups that in turn carry out attacks on U.S. interests in the country and the region. In recent days, daily explosions have been reported over Erbil, mostly during the evening, as coalition air defenses continue to intercept drones. The Iran-backed armed group Kataib Hezbollah condemned the U.S. presence and demanded the withdrawal of all foreign soldiers, reflecting ongoing tensions in the conflict zone. Smoke billowed from the wreckage of a vehicle hit by an Israeli airstrike in the center of Sidon, the country's largest urban area along the Mediterranean coast. The strike occurred near the Civil Defense Headquarters and a busy seaside road, where many displaced families have been sheltering amid rising cross-border tensions between Israel and armed groups in Lebanon. Some civilians are reportedly sleeping in their cars due to the ongoing insecurity, underscoring the growing humanitarian impact of the conflict. International media reports say the attack further illustrates the risks faced by populations in urban areas caught in escalating hostilities. The incident highlights how civilian zones are increasingly becoming targets, raising alarm among aid organizations and observers. An Iranian rescue official says more than 46,000 civilian sites have been damaged since joint strikes by the United States and Israel began late last month. Razia Alishavandi of the Iranian Red Crescent Society stated that the majority of the affected locations are residential, with thousands of homes, businesses, and public facilities impacted. She added that health centers, schools, and emergency infrastructures were also hit, raising concerns about violations of international humanitarian law, which is meant to protect civilians during conflict. The strikes are part of a sharp escalation following attacks on Iranian cities, including Tehran, and subsequent retaliatory missile and drone launches by Iran across the region. The situation underscores growing humanitarian and regional security risks, with calls for accountability and increased international attention. Rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East are disrupting global energy, fertilizer, and food supply chains, potentially pushing up food production costs, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said on Monday. The report highlighted that granular urea, a key nitrogen fertilizer used in crop production, surged nearly 20% in early March as energy prices climbed, since fertilizer production relies heavily on natural gas. The FAO warned that global fertilizer costs could remain 15 to 20% higher in the first half of 2026 if the current situation persists. Rising energy prices are also driving up costs across the wider agricultural supply chain, with potential economic repercussions for developing economies dependent on remittances. UN spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric noted that reductions in remittance flows from Gulf migrant workers could further strain household incomes amid rising food and energy prices. Argentina has formally withdrawn from the World Health Organization, marking a significant shift in its global health policy. Foreign Minister Pablo Cuerno said the decision, first announced in 2025, took effect 1 year after Argentina notified the United Nations Secretary General in line with international treaty rules. The World Health Organization is a UN agency that coordinates global responses to health emergencies and sets international public health standards. The move was made under President Javier Milei, whose government argues it will allow greater flexibility in shaping national health policies and managing resources. Officials say Argentina will continue international health cooperation through bilateral and regional partnerships while emphasizing national sovereignty. China says it will stay in close contact with the United States over a planned visit by Donald Trump after the trip was delayed due to the Iran conflict. The visit had originally been scheduled for late March but was postponed amid rising geopolitical tensions.
元首外交对中美关系发挥着不可替代的战略引领作用。中美双方将继续就特朗普总统访华事保持沟通。
Trump now says he expects to visit China within 5 to 6 weeks and maintains a strong relationship with President Xi Jinping. El Salvador's Congress has approved a constitutional reform allowing life imprisonment for serious crimes such as murder, rape, and terrorism, part of President Nayib Bukele's aggressive crackdown on criminal gangs. The amendment comes amid a state of emergency under which tens of thousands of suspected gang members have been detained, making El Salvador one of the countries with the highest per capita incarceration rates in the world. Human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch, have raised concerns over arbitrary detentions, particularly of Salvadorans deported from the United States, citing risks of enforced disappearances. Supporters argue the reform strengthens public security and gives law enforcement greater tools to tackle violent crime, which has long plagued urban areas like San Salvador. The country is also exploring climate resilience measures, including innovative insurance programs to protect tourism-dependent coastal communities from extreme weather events. Paraguay has ratified the free trade agreement between the European Union and the Mercosur bloc, becoming the last Mercosur member to do so. The Chamber of Deputies voted unanimously to adopt the treaty, which establishes the world's largest free trade zone. Signed in January after 25 years of negotiations, the deal eliminates tariffs on over 90% of bilateral trade. It is expected to boost European exports of cars, wines, and cheese while easing South American access to European markets for beef, poultry, soybeans, and other products. It is learned the agreement marks an unprecedented opening for Mercosur, likely encouraging investment and financing from Europe. South Korea's employment rose at the fastest pace in 5 months due to the continued increase in elderly jobs, statistical ministry data showed Wednesday. The number of employed people aged 15 and older gained 234,000, or 0.8%, from a year earlier to 28,413,000 in February, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics. It marked the fastest expansion since September last year, continuing to grow for the 14th consecutive month since January last year. The overall job growth was driven by the elderly. The number of jobs for those aged 60 and older expanded by 287,000 in February on a yearly basis, while the figures for those in their 30s and 50s climbed 86,000 and 6,000 respectively. Employment among those in their 20s dropped 163,000, while the reading for those in their 40s was unchanged in the cited month. A mysterious artificial intelligence model has sparked global attention after appearing anonymously on a developer platform, raising speculation it could be linked to DeepSeek. The model, known as Hunter Alpha, offers advanced capabilities including a massive context window and high processing power, but its creator has not been identified. Developers say its design and reasoning style resemble expectations for DeepSeek's upcoming next-generation system, though no direct connection has been confirmed. People remain divided, with some pointing to similarities in performance, while others caution that the evidence is inconclusive and could indicate a different origin. The French army is training African armed forces in environmental protection as part of exercises organized in Gabon by the Academy for the Protection of the Environment and Natural Resources, APERN. The program focuses on teaching military personnel how to integrate environmental considerations into operations, including conservation and sustainable resource management. These exercises are part of a broader shift in France's military strategy in Africa, moving away from permanent bases toward training and advisory roles. Officials say the initiative strengthens regional cooperation while promoting ecological awareness within security forces. It has been noted that such programs reflect France's effort to balance strategic influence with sustainable development goals across the continent.
Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna Circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghanduk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
Trimmed mustache, mirrored shades, and an unmistakable smile, Tenzing Norgay Sherpa climbs a steep hill in Khumbu. It's May 1991. After 38 years, he's returning to meet his old climbing partner, Sir Edmund Hillary, the man with whom he first stood atop the world.
Tenzing, good to see you. My goodness. Well, yeah. Hi, Dickie. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Hi, long time coming. Good to see you again.
Yes, isn't he? Did you have a good walk up?
Oh, very well.
Good.
Fine.
Sagarmatha, head of the sky. Chomolungma, the mother goddess of the world, or simply Mount Everest. A mountain with many names, Yet for generations it meant only one thing: the impossible. Since the 1920s, climbers from around the world had tried to conquer it. Many never returned. Avalanches, storms, frostbite, the mountain refused them all. Then on 29 May 1953, Edmund Hillary of New Zealand and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa of Nepal stood together on top of the world. The world woke up to the headline, "Everest is conquered."
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the news. Mount Everest has been conquered by members of the British expedition. The news reached London in a message to the Times. It said that Mr. E.P. Hillary, a New Zealander, and Tenzing Bhutia, a Sherpa, had reached the summit last Friday, May 29th.
Among the 35 men in the team that made history was Kancha Sherpa, the last surviving member of that expedition. He passed away in October 2025. He remembered the climb as hard but joyful.
समुद्रमा बना हामीले सुनेको छ हामी के काममा जाने त्यहाँ जाने कामै थिएन अब यहाँको मान्छेहरू चाहिँ तल लोबेसम्म बस्छ त्यहाँबाट त हामी जाने कामै छैन अनि तेन्जिङहरू त हेरेर आएर पो माथि अनि एभरेस्ट चाहिँ हामीले थाहा पायो नभए हाम्रो गाउँै भए पनि हामीले के जाने कामै छैन गाह्रो भयो हजुर मलाई गाह्रो त के जानु नस्याङ्ने के अब कहिले पनि जस्तो काम गरेको छैन त पनि त बारी बोकेर त खरबासमा जानु पर्यो यहाँ हातमा डोरहरू समाउनु पर्यो यहाँ आइसाङ समाउनु पर्यो यहाँ बारी थुप्रो बोकेर जानु पर्यो अनि त साङ्गुमा जानु पर्यो अनि माथि जुल्रेर जानु पर्यो अनि गाह्रो त एकदम गाह्रो छ तर यस्तो काम पाएर धेरै खुसी भयो नि
Hillary loved Khumbu and Khumbu loved Hillary. He dedicated his life for the region and its people. In the decades that followed, Everest became a symbol of determination, not just for men, but for everyone who dared to dream. In 1993, Pasang Lamu Sherpa became the first Nepali woman to stand on the summit. Her journey was marked by courage and struggle.
पैसा हुनु पर्यो यसमा आफूले लगानी गरेर खर्च गर्नु पर्यो रोयल्टी तिर्नु पर्यो अब आफूले सँगै लानु गुरुबहरुलाई चाहिँ खानाहरु हुनु पर्यो लुगाहरु किनेको पैसाहरु हुनु पर्यो त्यसकारणले चाहिँ यो पैसाकोले नि पैसाकै समस्याले गर्दाखेरि पनि अगाडि बढ्न नसकेको हो तर यहाँ एउटा ट्रेनिङको महिलाहरुलाई चाहिँ यो माउन्टेन ह्याली क्षेत्रमा एउटा ट्रेनिङको व्यवस्था बन्दोबस्त पनि त्यति साह्रो राम्रो छैन.
For some, the climb is a personal test. For others, it's a way to uplift an entire nation. Of the many record holders from Nepal, Apa Sherpa, who's also known as the Super Sherpa, had reached the summit 21 times before announcing his retirement.
म यो रेकर्डको लागि चल्ने भए त म आज पनि चल्न सकिन्छु नि तर म रेकर्डको लागि होइन मैले हाम्रो देशको लागि हाम्रो राष्ट्रको लागि माथि पहिले सुरुवातमा त आफ्नो पेसा भनौँ न अब पुरा नै हाम्रो राष्ट्रको लागि भनौँ पहिले सुरुवातमा त आफ्नो पेसाको हो तर त्यो लास्टमा म चढिरह्यो भने त्यो त तपाईँको उस जस्तो देखिन्छ कि कम्पिटिसन जस्तो देखिन्छ कि मलाई त्यो मेरो चाहिँ नि त्यो कम्पिटिसन होइन र म राष्ट्रको लागि हो त्यसैले मैले अब 2011 देखि मैले सन्यास लिएर अपा शेर्पा फाउन्डेसन खोलेर शिक्षा सबभन्दा इम्पोर्टेन्ट चाहिँ के छ हाम्रो शिक्षा एजुकेसन छैन भने हामीलाई धेरै गाह्रो छ मैले खैराहरूले पनि भन्दैछु विदाउट एजुकेसन वी हेभ नो चोइस एजुकेसन इम्पोर्टेन्ट छ त्यसपछि हाम्रो वातावरण त्यसैले हाम्रो नेपालको लागि म त्यो दुईवटालाई जोडेर मैले सपोर्ट गरिरहेको छु.
Over time, the story of Everest has changed.
Each climbing season now brings not only adventurers, but also income and impact. In 2024, Everest generated nearly 676 million Nepali rupees, almost 80% of Nepal's total mountaineering revenue. The fee for foreign climbers has been revised now to $15,000 each. So far, more than 8,000 summiteers of different nationalities have climbed Mount Everest. Many more aspire to reach the top of the world. To ease the pressure on Everest and promote other regions, the government of Nepal has opened 97 peaks that range from 5,970 meters to 7,123. One can climb these mountains in the western Karnali and Sudur Paschim provinces without having to pay royalties. As voices increase for the need of having summited at least one mountain over 7,000 meters in the country before bidding for the Everest, these 97 peaks are likely to be training ground for summiteers. With success, Everest has also seen a heavy burden. In 2023 alone, more than 75 tons of waste were collected from the Everest region. This included plastic, metal, oxygen bottles, and even human waste. The mountain has also been plagued by fatal climbing attempts.
यसपालिको भन्दाखेरि त अब लास्ट इयरको पनि मरेको लासहरू अझै पनि छन् माथि बाटोमै पनि त्यो लासहरू देखे हामीले यो 8,300-400 मिटरमा बालकुनीमा त्यो लासहरू पनि अझै भइरहेछ र फोहोरहरू पनि सजकलमा पनि टन्नै फोहोरहरू छ पहिला हामीले अब सदरमाथा आरोग्य सङ्घले पनि 2011 मा सफा त गर्यो त्यत्रो फोहोर ल्याए 10 टन फोहोर पनि धेरै नै ल्याएको त्यतिखेर त्यति ल्याउँदा पनि अझै फोहोरहरू चाहिँ एकदमै छ भनौं न टाइममा अब राज्यले चाहिँ किन त्यसलाई चाहिँ अलिकति व्यवस्था के अब कुन हिसाबले हुन्छ त्यो फोहोरलाई अलिकति तल ल्याएर अलिकति सफा गर्यो भने एभरेस्टको लागि अलिकति विदेशीहरुको लागि अलि राम्रो होला कि भन्ने चाहिँ हामीलाई लागेछ.
Sagarmatha has taught the world to dream higher, but now she asks us to care deeper. The greatest climb perhaps isn't upward, but inward. "70 years since the first ascent, much has changed, but one thing has and will remain constant. Everest has and will continue to stand tall and keep challenging human abilities."
music all over the world I think it's a universal language, you know. And basically when it comes to musicians like us, we really get connected when somebody or from some part of music from different part of the world can go well together, and we can do so many different things, you know, because we come from different culture, we come from different perspectives in life, you know.
Started jamming together, and then we were asked to play a festival at the Pathan Museum called the Namlo Music Festival, Music and Heritage Festival, I believe it was called. And so we were asked to do that, and I said, okay, I'll put together a band with Prince. And then he called his old buddies from when he grew up jamming with them. I would play a bluegrass tune, and then they would say, oh, that sort of goes like this Nepali tune. And we would just go from one to the other, and then I would show them my songs, and we would do that. So that was 3 years ago now.
Joy and Prince has already said about it. Actually, they both first met each other. I mean, Joy knew Prince's father back in the US, and I was a struggling musician in Kathmandu, and I was friend with Mr. Prince Nepali, and we used to play in some other different bands as well. And once Joy and Prince, they both met, and Prince was like, are you interested in doing something new, something different rather than rock and pop music? What about some fusions and bluegrass and folk music? And he challenged me like, do you want to do it or not? And I was like, okay, I'm up for it. And then actually it's that kind of story.
Actually, I'm planning like I haven't done any like production or anything like this with this instrument, so I'm actually planning for like trying to fuse a different instrument and get some production of different like percussion instrument and our traditional composition. Not just Tibet, there are also different instruments like chi, ta, and different folk instruments as well. So I think also I'm planning like to get collaborated with different folk artists and the traditional drummers to bring them together and then make some compositions or just play the already composed things and then just make out some videos and then share it with, maybe on some social platforms like this.
The music that we are doing right now is like a crossover between American bluegrass music and Nepali folk music. And actually, first of all, we came up with an idea of just playing with each other, just jamming together. And we found out that, okay, so this could work very nicely together. So I'm using like a traditional instrument, sarangi, and we're combining this with the mandolin that comes from the US and the bluegrass music. And I think my idea is basically to present it like my folk culture and my traditional songs, and also like go together with the American music. I've been very fortunate and blessed to be born in such like musical family. So being a fourth generation, I think I never felt the pressure. First of all, because I enjoyed what I was doing, and then more than that, I think it's basically the kind of fun that I have with music, and I think there's some different intimacy between me and music, So I really enjoyed what I was doing, and I really had great fun. So I've been working on different projects and trying to inspire the youth at the moment in my life. So I have this project called Sarangi Ghar, where I basically have like classes. We also have the store. We do produce sarangi, and I think it's also encourages me to explore with the instrument itself, and the culture itself, because it's so beautiful. And like Nepal being so rich in culture and tradition, I want to like collaborate with different artists, folk artists in Nepal, and all from the world actually, and create different kind of new music with different caste and ethnic groups here in Nepal. They also have their own traditional instruments, folk instrument, and I think you must like find a way to have fun with it actually, and then I think more than anything else actually, the youths can just enjoy what they have been like with the music itself, and I really actually want them to explore Nepali music more. Youth can basically have like an opportunity where they can just go explore, find an instrument. We have tungna, we have sarangi, we have many other instruments. Like if you go in the western part of Nepal, you have like far western part, you have hudke baza, and there's lots of binayo and everything. And I find panche baza is interesting as well. So everybody can explore like whatever interest they have. They don't have to take it very professionally. They can just enjoy with it actually. Himalayan Highway is like it's a music that's crossed between the Nepali folk and American bluegrass music. So today we'll be presenting mostly the fusion of like the instrumental thing, and we will be singing a few of our original songs. So yeah, I hope you'll enjoy.
चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई पानी परेको बादलहरू अझै पनि माथि माथि घामको न्यानो स्पर्शसँगै इन्द्रेणीको रङ्ग पनि त्यही सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मन मेरो खुला आकाशै भरिएको छ जुन र ताराले आफ्नो खुसी यहाँ आफै खुसी उडी जान्छु हावा बनी सररा उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँग यो मेरो मनको भावनाहरूलाई सररर उडाइ लाग्यो चिसो हावासँगै हो मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई मेरो मनको चाहनाहरूलाई
Actually, our first name was Manaslu Blue. The blue was for bluegrass, and then Manaslu was for Nepal. But then I was about a year in, I was brainstorming with my parents, and our goal with the band is to bring it abroad. I come from my perspective of American folk music, and these guys bring their wonderful Nepali folk music. And I think the goal of the band is to share this amazing fusion and to show people especially how amazing Nepali folk music is and how much we can do these cross-cultural collaborations. But the thing about Manaslu Blue is that no one outside of Nepal knows the mountain Manaslu. So then I was thinking with my dad, and somehow we came to Himalayan Highway. Highway is a very American thing, and there are a lot of bluegrass bands, Blue Highway, Golden Highway, so it's a common name. And then we thought Himalayan to talk about Nepal and the region. Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. We want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know that maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration.
I can't bear this endless ticking of time. And when the lights down low, I can't keep control, and my thoughts spill out of the hole. And I sing, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I sing, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I sing, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. 'Cause all day I chug brook and try to shove down all of the hurt. But sometimes at the end, does it fade on the page? And my eyes just run a glaze. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And is there ever an end to this breathless whirlwind? Is there even a point of it all? 'Cause at the end of the day, just us back in the fray on this rugged, snowy road. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, let it burn. And I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. There's a guy on the stage, and he's playing the guitar the wrong way around. And I also have to tell you that that's not his main instrument, in fact. His main instrument is the piano, but he also slays at the guitar. That's Mr. Enes Tamang.
Nowadays, I think many young generations, upcoming generations, like they are more over into like different. I mean, it doesn't mean to demean it, but people are more over into different kind of music rather than our own cultural music. And I think promoting like this, like promoting through our own traditional instrument like sarangi and tabla, and maybe fusing it. Of course, it's not like we don't utilize the Western culture. Also, we utilize it, but we should not forget like our own roots, our own culture. So yeah, I think it's important so that we could carry the legacy as well of our own musical instruments and our own culture as well. Our brand is like, it's like the main goal is to like, of course, promoting the folk culture, our own tradition and culture music, and with a unique taste, of course, as mentioned earlier. And I want to encourage you all to do music, like never give up. Like in some point of life, like we are doing it as a professionally, and some people might be like demotivated, or they might be like in confusion also whether should they pursue the music as their career or not. But I suggest them just do it. I know there is going to be ups and downs, there is going to be a lot of struggles, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And yes, of course, don't forget to promote their own culture as we are doing. We just wrote a song like few days ago, and it was so random, but it turned out so beautiful. It's called Samjana, and it's a Nepali, like Prince wrote it. It's a Nepali song, but we are fusing it with the American bluegrass thing. And recently, it's the favorite. Not because it's just written in few days ago, but it has a very good meaning.
Story चाहिँ childhood love story को बारेमा हो, जहाँ चाहिँ दुईजना साथीहरू चाहिँ एकदमै स्कुल टाइमको लभदेखि नै धेरै अगाडि बढिसकेपछि चाहिँ एउटा पोइन्टमा चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ केटी साथी हुन्छ ऊ चाहिँ 4-5 वर्षको लभपछि चाहिँ हराउँछ र त्यो हराएको बेलामा चाहिँ केटाले चाहिँ धेरै थुप्रै प्रयासहरू गर्छ खोज्नलाई चाहिँ तर कहिले पनि भेट्न सक्दैन र पछि हिँड्दै जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब 5 इयर्स पास भइसकेपछि चाहिँ अगाडि गएर हिँड्दै बाटोतिर हिँड्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसले झसङ्ग एकजना चिनेको अनुहार देख्छ है अनि चिनेको अनुहार देख्दाखेरि चाहिँ उसलाई चाहिँ अब उसले पहिला भेटेको मान्छे चाहिँ अलिकति चेन्ज भएको रहेछ तर अगाडि जानलाई चाहिँ ऊ अगाडि बढिसकेको हुन्छ तर त्यहाँ चाहिँ एउटा सानो बच्चाले चाहिँ त्यो केटीको हात समाएर हिँडिरहेको हुन्छ जुन चाहिँ उसको छोरी हुन्छ केटा चाहिँ अब अगाडि बढ्न सक्दैन र त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ यो गीतको सुरुवात हुन्छ सम्झना सम्झना
Well, there's one person who has actually the most microphones, but no vocal mic. He's got a master's in tabla performance, and he's just an amazing percussionist, Mr. Yusuf Maharjan.
So right now I'm using these three stone instruments. So basically, this instrument on my left side is called timbe. So this is our traditional ethnic Newari instrument. It's from Kathmandu Valley itself. Unique sound, actually. It's very bass boosted, and it's one of the very important instrument for our Kathmandu Valley, and it's used in most of the festivals. Like, you will barely see a festival where there is no timbe instrument. So I think the instrument that holds too many emotions of this valley and this country, it should be shared and should be known to the world. And so, speaking about this mandal and tabla, and also with the tabla, I would say, like, all of these three instruments these are one of the really old instrument of the world, I would say. Like, it's more than 1,000 years old instrument. So it's already like history living and the sounding of history, So I think it's really important that the Western music that's not even more than 500 years old is being too much exposed, and yet this more old and more dynamic instrument, not just dynamic, and also the compositions, the sound, the tonal quality, this instrument really needs highlight to the world. At first, the whatever generation is alive right now, so they must actually pass down this tradition and this instrument, how to play the instrument, how to blend this instrument with different musics that's available in the world right now, let's say. To be honest, I'm really proud right now because there is not too much like musicians who are promoting our own traditional music or our instruments. Lots of Nepali people and youngsters nowadays, like, they are too much into Western music, and I'm not saying that's wrong, but I think along with the Western music, I think we should also try to share our Nepali culture, Nepali music. And so this is one of our initiative to show the world, like, how can we fuse Nepali folk instruments music with the American bluegrass music, and show them the new taste, how they sound with the fusion of these two different music from different worlds.
Only after 6 decades of the institutional development of the now popular game of cricket did Nepal get the opportunity to play in the World Cup. Although cricket was introduced in Nepal during the Rana regime, the sport was confined to a limited number of people, namely the elite. It all started with equipment brought by students returning from their studies in Britain and India. Although Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) was established in 1947, cricket remained centered among a few affluent individuals and in limited tournaments for a long time. Starting with the Vishnu Trophy in 1948, tournaments were limited to competitions like the Madan Memorial Sealed, Jugal Kishore Trophy, Rammani Trophy, and later the Jaya Trophy. Even as the sport expanded outside Kathmandu Valley, it took decades for cricket to develop at the grassroots level. After the International Cricket Council (ICC) granted Nepal affiliate membership in 1988, Nepali cricket embarked on its international journey. The rule of mandatory participation in tournaments by the ICC and the Asian Cricket Council (ACC) opened doors to international competition for Nepal. After participating in the Under-19 Asian tournament in Hong Kong in 1996, Nepal has not looked back. Winning titles at the Asian and global levels, Nepali cricket team continues its journey towards the pinnacle of world cricket.
Goes down the ground because he was given that line outside off stump, so the first boundary of the contest, a handsome one.
Initially confined to Tulikhel in Kathmandu, many international tournaments were hosted in Nepal after an international standard ground was built in Kirtipur.
RSP concludes two-day orientation for its lawmakers. Party president urges newly elected MPs to honour public mandate. Air Dynasty helicopter narrowly escapes fatality in Khotang. 6 injured rescued safely. One of the ancient festival of Kathmandu Valley, Ghode Jatra, observed. Nepal Army showcase equestrian and cultural displays in Tulikhel. Middle East conflict drives fuel and food prices surge, threatens Nepal's remittance, jobs and economic stability. Iran confirms killing of intelligence minister Ismail Khatib as Israel expands strikes and regional tensions escalate sharply. And Morocco awarded 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title as CAF overturns final result following Senegal's controversial walk-off. Good evening, I am Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. President of Rashtriya Swatantra Party Ravi Lamichhane has directed newly elected members from his party to the House of Representatives to fully respect the mandate given by the people and work in favor of positive change. Speaking at the closing of an orientation program for the newly elected MPs, Lamichhane emphasized that no one has the liberty to make arbitrary public statements or treat the public's mandate as mere entertainment.
आशा र अपेक्षाका साथ नेपाली जनताले भोट खन्याएर दिएका छन् नि त्यो ठूलो जिम्मेवारीको महसुस तपाईलाई प्रत्येक दिन हुनुपर्छ साथी हो प्रत्येक दिन हुनुपर्छ यो देश अहिले पनि बनेन भने कहिले पनि बन्दैन भनेर साथीहरुले भनेका छन् हर ठाउँमा भनेका छन् तपाई भोट माग्न जाँदाखेरि आमा बाहरुले रुँदै के भनेका छन् तपाईलाई थाहा छ बाबु यो देश बचाऊ भनेका छन् सुन्दाखेरि यो देश बचाऊ कति सामान्य कुरा हो नि कति गहन कुरो छ कति गहिरो कुरो छ कति ठूलो कुरो छ भन्नुस् त यो देश बचाऊ हामी जस्ता सामान्य मान्छेको हातमा नीलो झण्डा फरफराउँदै हातमा घण्टी बोकेर हिँडेका हाम्रा हातमा हाम्रा काँधमा देशका ज्येष्ठ नागरिकदेखि बालक बालिकाहरूले सम्मले यो देश बचाऊ भनिरहेका छन् यो जिम्मेवारी हो
With RSP emerging as a new political force and securing a majority seats in the lower house, the orientation program highlighted the importance of responsible leadership and accountability. A total of 182 Member of Parliaments were elected from Rashtra Swatantra Party to the House of Representatives through both direct and proportional representation. Now, those injured in a helicopter accident in Khotang this morning have been rescued. According to Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, Information Officer Gyanendra Bhul, an Air Dynasty helicopter, call sign 9N AFQ, met the accident as it lost balance while landing in Balbesi in Khartamcha, Kepilas Gadi rural municipality at about 11:55 a.m. 6 people, including the pilot, sustained minor injuries in the incident. All of them were rescued and airlifted to Kathmandu by another helicopter. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East is beginning to impact Nepal's economy as rising global tensions push up fuel and food prices. Policy leaders in Nepal say which relies heavily on imports is facing growing inflationary pressure, with disruption in supply chains also likely to affect fertilizer imports and agriculture production. There are increasing concerns about the safety of Nepali workers in key labor destinations such as Qatar, Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, raising this risk of slowdown in remittance inflows. The Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that energy-driven fertilizer prices could remain elevated, further straining developing economies. Analysts caution that prolonged conflict could also impact government revenue and tourism, calling for timely policy response and economic diversification. Kathmandu celebrated Ghode Jatra today at Tunikhel, an ancient festival held annually on the new moon of the Nepalese month of Chaitra. Rooted in the legend of trampling the demon Guru Mapa to protect the city's children, the event featured a vibrant display by the Nepal Army. The ceremony included horse parades, traditional sporting displays and trained dog performances. High-level dignitaries including President Paudel and Prime Minister Sushila Karki attended the festivities, which are marked by a public holiday across Kathmandu Valley. Lalitpur also marked the historic single-horse Ghode Jatra, a tradition dating back to King Srinivas Malla in Nepal, Sambat 787. Unlike the large-scale displays in Kathmandu, this ritual focuses on a single horse to symbolically drive out evil spirits. After being blessed at Mangal Bazaar with traditional prayers and offerings, the horse is paraded 3 times between Bhola Ganesh and Balkumari temple. The ceremony, which represents the spiritual purification of the city, concludes with the offering of betel leaves and areca nuts. The Middle East faces a major escalation following the confirmed death of Iran's intelligence minister Ismail Khatib in an overnight strike. This follows the killing of official Ali Larijani as Israel intensifies its offensive with strikes on central Beirut. In response, retaliatory attacks are spreading across the region. 2 people have been killed in Israel, where explosions and drone interceptions have been reported in the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, raising urgent fears of a full-scale regional war. Now, in an unprecedented move, Morocco has been declared the winner of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations after the Confederation of African Football overturned the finals result. Although Senegal won 1-0 on the pitch in January, the match was marred by a protest where Senegalese players briefly walked off following a late penalty call. The federation ruled that this walk-off constituted a forfeit, officially recording the match as 3-0 victory for Morocco. Senegal has labelled the decision unfair and is preparing an appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Coming up, the new guard takes its seat. For the first time in Nepal's history, nearly 1 in 3 lawmakers is under the age of 40. From the grassroots to the halls of power, a generational shift is officially underway. Our issue of the day after this short break. You're watching NTV World and this is News Hour. Welcome back. Time now for our issue of the day. Nepal's political landscape is seeing a major generational shift. In the recent House of Representatives election, more than 1 in 3 members of parliament, that is 99 out of 275, are under 40, signalling the rise of young leaders in national politics. Rashtriya Swatantra Party leads with 82 young parliamentarians, while Congress, UML and other parties contribute smaller numbers. Many are first-time legislators, bringing fresh energy to a house that now blends youthful voices with experienced leaders. A closer look.
Nepal's long-standing question, where are the young leaders in politics, may finally have an answer. In the recent House of Representatives election held on March 5, out of 275 elected members, 99 are under 40 years old. That's more than 1 in 3 MPs. This is a sharp jump from just 13% in the previous election, signalling a new era of youth participation. Among these young parliamentarians, 55 are men and 44 are women. The Rashtriya Swatantra Party dominates with 82 young MPs, while Congress has 8, UML 6, Shram Samskriti Party 2 and Rashtriya Prajatantra Party 1. The Nepali Communist Party has no young MPs this time. Breaking it down by age, 45 MPs are between 25 and 34, 97 are between 35 and 44, and 75 are between 45 and 54, together making up more than half of the House. Many of these MPs are first-time legislators, bringing fresh energy and enthusiasm to national politics. While youth alone cannot solve all political challenges, this election marks a major generational shift, fulfilling the people's mandate expressed after the Gen Z movement. The oldest MP elected is 78-year-old Arjunar Singh Kesi of Nepali Congress. This shows that a House now blends vibrant young voices with experienced leadership. Hopes are high that the new composition could change the dynamics of Nepal's politics, making it more inclusive, participatory, and responsive to the aspirations of younger generations.
And in this context, we asked voters what they expect from the newly elected young members of parliament. Let's hear what they had to say.
सुशासन जुन छ त्यो काम होस् हैन, भ्रष्टाचारी जति छ त्यो सबैमाथि कारबाही होस् हैन। अरू जुन युवा अहिले बाहिर पलायन भइरहेछ त्यो युवा कम्तीमा आफ्नै देशमा बसेर काम गरोस्।
भ्रष्टाचारलाई नियन्त्रण गर्ने अथवा नियन्त्रण गर्न सकेन भने कमसेकम उन्मूलन त हुन सक्छ।
शिक्षा, स्वास्थ्य सबै सुधार होस्। तथा यहाँ साइडमा जस्तो बोर्डर एरिया पर्छ नि, त्यहाँबाट जुन लाइन माध्यमले सामान आउने गर्छ त्यसमा पनि सुधार होस्।
खाडी मुलुकमा अहिले द्वन्द्व चाहिँ चर्किएको छ, जसले गर्दा वैदेशिक रोजगारी चाहिँ यो लगभग बन्द हुने अवस्थामा पुगेको छ, जसले गर्दा आर्थिक मन्दी पनि बढ्छ र यहाँ बेरोजगारी सङ्ख्या पनि बढ्छ, जसले गर्दाखेरि बेरोजगारी बढ्यो भने थुप्रै किसिमका विकृति विसङ्गति अपराधका घटनाहरू वाकै बढ्छन्।
खेतीको शासन कायम हुन पर्यो, गरी खाना पाउन पर्यो र सरकारी सेवा चुस्त दुरुस्त हुन पर्यो भन्ने नै हो।
देशमा काम गरेर खाने वातावरण बनोस्, पुराना कुरीतिहरू राजनीतिमा भएका भ्रष्टाचारहरू निवारण होस्, सुशासन सुव्यवस्था अनि काम गर्ने जागिर गर्ने काम गरेर खाने वातावरण सृजना होस्।
जस्तै युवाहरू चाहिँ विदेश पलायन भइरहनु भएको छ, उहाँहरूलाई विदेश जानुबाट रोक्न सक्नुहुन्छ भने रोक्न सक्नु पऱ्यो। यदि रोक्न सक्नुहुन्न भने चाहिँ स्वदेशमै बसेर केही गर्छु भनेकोहरूलाई चाहिँ अब कसरी हुन्छ प्रोत्साहन गरेर चाहिँ उहाँहरूलाई अघि बढ्नलाई चाहिँ मद्दत गर्नु पऱ्यो।
तर अहिले युवाहरूसँग भन्नाले जुन चुनिएर आउनुभयो त उहाँले चाहिँ सुशासन व्यवस्था राम्रो गरिदिए सबभन्दा राम्रो।
आइटी सेक्टरमा नै राम्रो गरिदिए, हामीलाई इन्टर्नहरू गर्न विदेश जान नपरोस्, आफ्नै देशमा चाहिँ आफ्नो लगानी आफ्नो सिप चाहिँ प्रयोग गर्न पाउने, नयाँ के भन्छ अरे आविष्कारहरूमा आफ्नो योगदानहरू दिन पाउने, त्यति
That wraps up our issue of the day. Moving on, as conflict shakes the Middle East, Nepal is feeling the shock waves. With fuel prices climbing and fertilizer costs surging by 20%, your grocery bill is about to change. We look at the growing threat to Nepal's economy and the safety of Nepali workers abroad in our cover story right after this break. You're watching News Hour here on NTV World. I am Sarah Sapsanamarai. Welcome back. Time now for our cover story of the day. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East is beginning to impact not only global markets but also Nepal's economy. Experts say rising tensions are pushing up the prices of petroleum and food, contributing to inflation in the import-dependent country. Nepal relies heavily on imports for essential goods, and analysts warn that prolonged instability could disrupt supply chains, also affect fertilizer imports and, in turn, impact agricultural production.
पहिलो पेट्रोलियम प्रडक्ट र हाम्रो चाहिँ यो जुन ग्यासको कुरा छ त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दा हामीले इम्पोर्ट गर्ने भएको नै इम्पोर्टमा हामी डिपेन्डेन्सी छ त्यसमा त्यो चाहिँ इन्डियाबाटै आए पनि चाहिँ आउने भनेको मेन स्रोत भनेको त्यहीबाट हो त्यसले चाहिँ यो प्राइसमा असर गरिसकेको छ रोजगारीको चाहिँ हिसाबले त्यहाँ काम गर्ने र त्यहाँबाट आउने रेमिटेन्स दुईटै छ काम गर्न जाने अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ के हो भन्दा काम गर्न जाँदाखेरिमा पनि सेक्युरिटी भएन त्यहाँको चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ युद्ध भन्नुभएको छ हैन यसले चाहिँ असर गर्दा उनीहरुको हेल्थमा पनि असर गर्ने सम्भावना रहन्छ.
There are also concerns about the safety of Nepali workers in major labor destinations such as Qatar, Saudi Arabia and UAE, raising the risk of a slowdown in remittance inflows, a key pillar of Nepal's economy. Experts further caution that any decline in imports could also affect government revenue, while the tourism sector may face longer-term setbacks. They also say timely government action and economic diversification will be crucial if the conflict continues.
हामी चाहिँ परनिर्भर छौँ नि, जति चाहिँ हामी इम्पोर्ट गर्छौँ इम्पोर्टलाई सब्स्टिट्युसन गर्ने कामहरू गर्ने हो। पहिलो पेट्रोलियम प्रडक्टै भनौँ न। अहिले हामीसित चाहिँ के भन्दा इमिडिएट चाहिँ हामीसित ग्यास छ, ग्यासलाई चाहिँ सकेसम्म त्यसलाई छिटो चाहिँ प्रडक्सन गरेर डिस्ट्रिब्युसन त्यसलाई जानु पर्यो। सब्स्टिट्युसन चाहिँ हामीसित के छ, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी छ। इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पनि 2 वर्ष 3 वर्षमा चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ के गर्न सक्छौँ भन्दा 8-10 हजार चाहिँ होइन एक्स्ट्रा चाहिँ प्रडक्सन गर्न सक्ने अवस्थामा छौँ। त्यसलाई गरेर हामीले के गर्न सक्ने भयो भन्दा त्यसलाई सब्स्टिट्युट गर्न सक्ने भयो।
Amid ongoing uncertainty and conflict involving Iran and its regional neighbors in the Middle East, the number of Nepali workers heading to Gulf countries has seen a decline. However, foreign employment remains a key livelihood option for many, with hundreds still departing Nepal each day. We have a report.
At Tribhuvan International Airport, a steady flow of young Nepalis continues as they leave the country in search of work abroad. 30-year-old Purushottam Rai from Sarlahi is among them. Since completing his school-leaving certificate over a decade ago, he has searched for employment across multiple cities in Nepal, including Kathmandu. Unable to secure a job even paying 10,000 rupees a month, he is now heading to Malaysia for work. Despite ongoing tensions and conflict in Iran, Rai says his priority is earning a livelihood and global events have little direct impact on his decision.
धेरै ठाउँमा डुल्यो तर चाहिँ कहीँ काम पाए छैन। काम नपाएको कारणले हामीहरू भ्रष्टाचारीको कारणले हामीहरू चाहिँ उता खाडी मुलुकतिर चाहिँ कमाउन गइरहेछु घर परिवार पाल्नको लागि।
Rai represents many like them. According to officials, more than 2,000 Nepalis continue to leave the country daily for foreign employment. Over the past month, travel disruptions have been reported in parts of the Middle East due to heightened tensions involving the United States, Israel and Iran. Several Gulf transit routes have been affected. However, departures from Nepal have not stopped. Young workers say going abroad is not a choice but a necessity driven by limited opportunities at home.
नेपालमा रोजगारी हामीले भनेको जस्तो पाएको छैन, के गर्नु यस्तै छ नेपालको अवस्था हेर्दा।
नेपालमा केही रोजगार नपाएर चाहिँ अब बाहिर जान आट्यो हो, नभए त्यतिकै आफ्नो घर परिवार छोडेर त्यतिकै कोही जादैन बाहिर। अब त्यही हो आफ्नो भविष्य बनाउनु पनि पर्यो।
कुनै व्यापार व्यवसाय सुरुमा लगानी लाउनै सकिदैन एक त, अनि अर्को त अब सुरु गरियो भने पनि त्यसलाई चलाउन एकदमै गाह्रो छ। त्यही भएर मान्छेहरूले अहिले त्यस्तो गर्नुभन्दा बाहिर गएर केही गरेर उतै सेटल हुने त्यस्तै सोचिरहेका हुन्छन् सबैले।
Data from Department of Foreign Employment shows that more than 441,000 Nepalis obtained labor permits for foreign employment by mid-February of the current fiscal year. In the previous fiscal year, the number reached 887,000.
Rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East are disrupting global energy, fertilizer and food supply chains, potentially pushing up food production costs, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization said. The report highlighted that granular urea, a key nitrogen fertilizer used in crop production, surged nearly 20% in early March as energy prices climbed since fertilizer production relies heavily on natural gas. The organization also warned that global fertilizer costs could remain 15 to 20% higher in the first half of the year if the current situation persists. Rising energy prices are also driving up costs across the wider agricultural supply chain, with potential economic repercussions for developing economies dependent on remittances. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric noted that reductions in remittance flows from Gulf migrant workers could further strain household incomes amid rising food and energy prices. That wraps up our cover story of the day. In other news, Nepal's Election Commission is set to submit the final report of 2025 House of Representatives election to President Ramchandra Paudel on Thursday. The report will be handed over after certificates are distributed to proportional representation lawmakers earlier in the day. Officials say the submission will pave the way for government formation under constitutional provisions. A press briefing is also scheduled later in the evening at the Election Commission's office in Kathmandu. Prime Minister Sushila Karki has thanked leaders of various political parties for their role in ensuring the successful completion of the recent elections. During a meeting today, the Prime Minister expressed appreciation to the leaders of Nepal Communist Party, including Pushpa Kamal Dahal and Madhav Kumar Nepal. Prime Minister Karki acknowledged their contribution in creating an environment conducive to elections and supporting a peaceful and democratic process. In response, the leaders congratulated the Prime Minister, stating that the elections under her leadership have helped guide the country toward political stability. Prime Minister Sushila Karki also visited Pashupatinath Temple this morning, offering prayers and performing Rudrabhishek. The visit followed the peaceful completion of recent election. The Prime Minister expressed gratitude for the support received in guiding the country towards stability and peace. She also wished for national progress, unity and harmony among all Nepalis. The ceremony was attended by Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation Minister Anil Kumar Sinda and other senior officials from the Pashupati Area Development Trust. The rape and death of 16-year-old Inisha Bika in Surkhet has drawn nationwide attention, raising concerns about sexual violence and the effectiveness of accountability systems. While arrests have been made, the incident has once again highlighted gaps in timely justice and the need to reflect on broader societal attitudes, including education, parenting and social awareness. Sabika Shrestha brings a report.
The rape and death of 16-year-old Inisha Bika in Surkhet has deeply affected communities across the country, renewing focus on issues of safety and justice. She was found unconscious in a community forest and later declared dead at a provincial hospital, prompting public concern. Although 4 suspects have been arrested, the case has raised an important question: why do such incidents continue despite existing legal frameworks? Observers suggest that challenges remain in consistent enforcement, timely investigations, and efficient judicial processes. This case also brings attention to past incidents that remain unresolved or prolonged. The case of Nirmala Panta in Kanchanpur, along with those of Samjana Kami, Bhagarathi Bhatta and Rinku Kumari Shraddha, continue to be referenced in public discussions around justice and accountability. According to Nepal police data, an average of 7 to 8 rape cases are reported daily. Over the past 8 years, nearly 17,000 rape cases and more than 5,000 attempted rape cases have been recorded. However, underreporting remains a concern due to stigma, fear, and social pressures. Social attitudes, including victim blaming and informal settlements, as well as limited support systems, can discourage survivors from coming forward. There is a growing call for improvements, including fast-track legal processes, stronger implementation of existing laws, and better support for victims. At the same time, many emphasize the importance of addressing underlying social attitudes through education, parenting, and awareness, promoting respect, equality, and accountability across all sections of society.
चेतना जहिले पनि नीति भन्दा माथि हुन्छ के कमी कमजोरी हाम्रो सामाजिक हाम्रो जो चेतनामै देखिएको छ भनेपछि अब नीतिगत समाधान चाहिँ के हुन्छ देशको भन्दाखेरि एउटा राज्य स्तरबाट तपाईको 8 देखि 12 कक्षा पढ्ने उमेर समूहलाई जो एउटा 17-18 वर्षसम्म त छ नि एउटा नर्मल एज 12 सम्म पढ्ने भनेको तिनीहरुलाई चाहिँ अब जस्तो हेल्थमा त छ त हाम्रो बडीको स्ट्रक्चरको बारेमा छ इमोसनको बारेमा छ हैन त्यसलाई चाहिँ थप सशक्त रूपमा मोरल शिक्षा सहित समावेश गरेर प्र्याक्टिकली रूपमा अवेयरनेसको ड्रामाटिक प्रोग्रामहरु गराएर त्यसलाई चाहिँ यसरी त्यो संरचना चेतनाको संरचना लिएर आउनु पर्यो कि ना कि फाँसी दे भनेर चाहिँ कानुनमा धारमा लेख्न मिल्ने अवस्था छैन.
A call for greater awareness and responsible behavior among younger generations through education and family guidance. As the country reflects on this case, it highlights the need for continued efforts through a more responsive justice system and a more aware and responsible society. With the new government formation underway, there are increasing expectations for effective implementation of laws and timely justice.
As the whole nation is demanding for the justice, real change must ensure that victims like Inisha Bika, Nirmala Panta and Sanjana Bika are not forgotten. These cases are not only demanding for justice, but they are pushing for stricter laws, greater awareness, and also shift in the mindset of people so such tragedies may never happen again. Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa reporting for NTV World.
Child marriage remains a prevalent and complex issue in the Tarai region of Nepal, with rates significantly higher than the national average. This practice often forces girls under 18 to drop out of school, exposing them to financial hardship, severe health risks and, in many cases, violence. In order to address this critical issue and raise awareness, a mass gathering of students, parents, activists and other stakeholders was held in Rohtahat district. Rojina Rai brings this report.
While national rates of child marriage in Nepal are gradually declining, the prevalence in the Tarai lowlands remains significantly higher than the national average. In the 20 districts of the Tarai, including Rohtahat, 42.2% of girls are married before the legal age. To address this pressing issue, a mass gathering of young students against child marriage was recently held in Gajura municipality in Rohtahat district. Teachers, parents, local government representatives and members of various social organizations also came together to speak out against this harmful and illegal practice. The theme of the program was Choose a Successful Career, Not Dowry. The event aimed to raise awareness about child marriage, promote higher education, and encourage young girls to prioritize their careers over traditional practices, fostering a shift toward education, empowerment, and self-reliance. The program included constructive dialogues, learning sessions and reflections on the ongoing prevalence of child marriage across many communities in Nepal. Through group discussions, drama performances and presentations, young girls powerfully highlighted the negative impacts of child marriage on education, their health and future opportunities. They showed their strong determination, choosing education and empowerment over following the harmful social culture.
बाल विवाह गर्नु हुँदैन किनकि सानै उमेरमा बिहे गरे भने बच्चा जन्मिदा बच्चाको मानसिक समस्या पनि कमजोर आउन सक्छ बाल विवाह गर्नु हुँदैन र आफू पनि बाल विवाह नगर्ने र अरूलाई पनि बाल विवाह गर्नु हुँदैन.
Participants not only discussed the challenges but also expressed hope for change, emphasizing that child marriage remains a serious concern. Activists highlighted child marriage is a severe human rights violation that disproportionately affects girls, impacting approximately 1 in 5 girls worldwide. In order to create a lasting positive change and advancing the elimination of child marriage in Nepali society,
खासै गरेर डाटा अनुसार नै 49% चाहिँ बाल विवाह हुने डाटामै देखाएको छ. अझै साँच्चै नै रियालिटीमा वास्तविकतामा हो भने त्यो भन्दा धेरै बढी चाहिँ बाल विवाह हुन्छ. अनि फेरि दाइजो पनि एकदमै धेरै छोरीहरूले पढ्न नपाउने त्यही भएर एकदम बाल विवाहको अन्त्य नै उच्च शिक्षाको आधार दाइजो होइन सफल पेशा नै रोज्ने विचार भन्ने नाराका साथ हामीले यो एउटा अभियान चलाएको.
This kind of dialogue is pivotal, experts highlighted during the mass gathering and constructive dialogue in Rohtahat district. Rojina Rai reporting for NTV World.
And moving on, Langtang National Park has distributed approximately $12,900 in relief funds to 157 farmers across Rasua, Nuwakot and Sindhubalchuk to mitigate ongoing human-wildlife conflict. During the current fiscal year, monkeys and langurs caused the most frequent crop damage, while leopard attacks led to significant livestock losses. Chief Conservation Officer Shyam Kumar Shah confirmed that these payments, calculated based on injuries, livestock
deaths and property damage are a vital step in supporting local livelihoods and reducing tensions between the community and the central Himalayan wilderness. International news lined up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. RSP concludes two-day orientation for its lawmakers. Party President Namichane urges newly elected MPs to honour public mandate. Air Dynasty helicopter narrowly escapes fatality in Khotang. 6 injured rescued safely. Middle East conflict drives fuel and food price surge, threatens Nepal's remittance, jobs and economic stability. One of the ancient festival of Kathmandu Valley, Ghore Jatra observed. Nepal Army showcase equestrian and cultural displays in Tulikhail. Iran confirms killing of intelligence minister Ismail Khatib as Israel expands strikes and regional tensions escalate sharply. And Morocco awarded 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title. CAF overturns final result following Senegal's controversial walk-off. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is set to travel to the United States on Thursday for talks with President Donald Trump, marking their second summit meeting. Takaichi will depart Wednesday evening, her first trip to Washington since taking office, aiming to reaffirm the importance of the Japan-US alliance and strengthen cooperation in security, investment and economic areas, including critical mineral supply chains. Attention is also on how she will address the ongoing Middle East situation. While she has no plans to assess U.S. strikes legally, her government is considering steps regarding the Strait of Hormuz within Japanese law. Ahead of the trip, she discussed Middle East developments with her cabinet, while Foreign Minister Motegi Toshimitsu urged Iran to halt acts threatening shipping in the region. China says it will stay in close contact with the U.S. over a planned visit by Donald Trump after the trip was delayed due to Iran conflict. The visit had originally been scheduled for late March but was postponed amid rising geopolitical tensions.
元首外交对中美关系发挥着不可替代的战略引领作用。中美双方将继续就特朗普总统访华时保持沟通。
Trump now says he expects to visit China within 5 to 6 weeks and maintains a strong relationship with President Xi Jinping. Now, Argentina has officially withdrawn from the World Health Organization, marking a radical shift under President Javier Milei's administration. Foreign Minister Pablo Quirno confirmed the exit took effect today, following one-year notification period required by international treaty rules. The Milei government argues that leaving the UN agency allows Argentina greater national sovereignty and flexibility in managing its own health resources. While the move ends Argentina's formal ties with the World Health Organization's global standards, officials stated the country will pivot toward bilateral and regional partnerships to maintain international health cooperation. El Salvador's Congress has approved a constitutional reform allowing life imprisonment for serious crimes such as murder, rape and terrorism. It's part of President Nayib Bukele's aggressive crackdown on criminal gangs. The amendment comes amid a state of emergency under which tens of thousands of suspected gang members have been detained, making El Salvador one of the countries with the highest per capita incarceration rates in the world. Human rights groups, including Human Rights Watch, have raised concerns over arbitrary detentions, particularly of Salvadorans deported from the United States, citing risks of enforced disappearances. Supporters argue the reform strengthens public security and gives law enforcement greater tools to tackle violent crime, which has long plagued urban areas like San Salvador. The country is also exploring climate resilience measures, including innovative insurance programs to protect tourism-dependent coastal communities from extreme weather events. We're going for another breather here. Next up, it's the business updates.
A mysterious artificial intelligence model has sparked global attention after appearing anonymously on a developer platform, raising speculation it could be linked to DeepSeek. The model, known as Hunter Alpha, offers advanced capabilities including a massive context window and high processing power, but its creator has not been identified. Developers say its design and reasoning style resemble expectations for DeepSeek's upcoming next-generation system, though no direct connection has been confirmed. People remain divided, with some pointing to similarities in performance, while others caution that the evidence is inconclusive and could indicate a different origin. NVIDIA has announced it is restarting production of high-performance chips for customers in China. CEO Jensen Huang made the announcement at NVIDIA's annual developers conference in San Jose, California. The company showcased its latest technology, ranging from robotics to supercomputers, highlighting its expanding role in AI innovation. Huang said the restart comes after the company received multiple purchase orders from Chinese clients. The move reflects strong global demand for advanced AI chips despite ongoing geopolitical tensions affecting technology trade. Paraguay has ratified the free trade agreement between the European Union and the Mercosur bloc, becoming the last Mercosur member to do so. The Chamber of Deputies voted unanimously to adopt the treaty, which establishes the world's largest free trade zone. Signed in January after 25 years of negotiations, the deal eliminates tariffs on over 90% of bilateral trade. It is expected to boost European exports of cars, wines, and cheese, while easing South American access to European markets for beef, poultry, soybeans, and other products. It is learned the agreement marks an unprecedented opening for Mercosur, likely encouraging investment and financing from Europe. South Korea's employment rose at the fastest pace in 5 months due to the continued increase in elderly jobs, statistical ministry data showed Wednesday. The number of employed people aged 15 and older gained 234,000, or 0.8%, from a year earlier to 28,413,000 in February, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics. It marked the fastest expansion since September last year, continuing to grow for the 14th consecutive month since January last year. The overall job growth was driven by the elderly. The number of jobs for those aged 60 and older expanded by 287,000 in February on a yearly basis, while the figures for those in their 30s and 50s climbed 86,000 and 6,000 respectively. Employment among those in their 20s dropped 163,000, while the reading for those in their 40s was unchanged in this cited month.
And with that, we move on to sports update. Enfamati's Memorial Women's League kicked off today. In the opening match, Sankata Club secured a winning start by defeating Neuro team 4-0. The match, held at Jasal Ground in Lalitpur, saw Sankata dominate NRT in a one-sided game. Goals for Sankata were scored by Win Thengi Tun, Lucy Hoje Mokambi, Sukriya Mia and Kinabel Amankra, with 2 goals in each half. The league features 9 teams including Armed Police Force, Bagmati Youth Club, Church Boys United, Japa Football Club, Neuro Team NRT, Nepal Police Club, RS Resort and Beach Football, Sankata Football Club and Trivan Army Club. According to NFA, the league matches will be held at Chassel Ground in Lalitpur until April 25. It will follow a single round-robin format. The Iranian women's national football team has reached at Istanbul airport after several members withdrew their asylum requests in Australia and decided to return home. The players dressed in Iranian team tracksuits were seen at the airport and later left under police escort to a hotel in Istanbul. They are scheduled to return to Iran on Wednesday. 7 members of the delegation had sought asylum in Australia last week following criticism at home for refusing to sing the national anthem during their opening match at the Women's Asia Cup. Only 2 players remain in Australia after others reversed their decisions. Now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then the world. And before wrapping up, let's have a look at the headlines once again. RSP concludes 2-day orientation for its lawmakers. Party president urges newly elected MPs to honour public mandate. Air Dynasty helicopter narrowly escapes fatality in Khotan. 6 injured rescued safely. Middle East conflict drives fuel and food price surge, threatens Nepal's remittance, jobs and economic stability. One of the ancient festival of Kathmandu Valley, Ghode Jatra, observed. Nepal Army showcased equestrian and cultural displays in Tuli Hill. Iran confirms killing of intelligence minister Ismail Khatib as Israel expands strikes and regional tensions escalate sharply. And Morocco awarded 2025 Africa Cup of Nations title. CAF overturns final result following Senegal's controversial walk-off. And that brings us to the end of this edition of News Hour here on NTV World. Do join us through our social media pages and also get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanandarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.